Hey everybody, this is Andrew Cantillo. We are recording the first Miscellaneous Guys podcast to kind of coincide with the Xbox Games Showcase. Today is July 23rd, 2020, in what would have been 1 month after E3 or so, or something like that. Today I have a couple of folks with me here, and they're going to talk games with me. First, we've got DJ.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, DJ. And we've got Snouty.
Hello there.
Joseph Turin.
Hello, everybody.
Joshua Villalta.
How's it going, guys?
And Sam Samaculus. I hesitated because of the last name thing with you.
That's Smegman.
Oh, that's right.
Howdy,
Sam Smegman, of course. How could I have forgotten? Anyway, we are here, of course, as you guys all know, to discuss the Xbox Game Showcase, among other things. There's a ton to talk about, of course. They had a pretty long show, and there was just a lot of games. Talking points we're going to go over is mostly focus on the Xbox Game Showcase with some kind of peripheral talk about things like E3 in general and lack thereof, and what we've seen here today, as well as some things that are relating to Xbox and their direction, and how that compares and overlays with PlayStation's plans and Nintendo's plans and PC and all that good stuff. And of course we've got people here of kind of all tastes and perspectives on all this. So anyway, how are you guys tonight?
Chilling.
Doing good.
Nice.
Smashing.
Smashing good time in these unprecedented times, of course. That's a joke. You can laugh. I mean, come on.
Is it unprecedented?
These unprecedented.
I'm trying
times.
to go ahead and make light of this really serious situation because, of course, yeah, I mean, not too light of it, but you know. Anyway.
No. It's good to laugh.
Yeah. So anyway, let's go ahead and kick this off. Do you guys want to get straight into the games, or do you guys want to talk about
just
E3?
jump right into Halo, baby.
Just jump into the deep end. Okay, so anyway, Halo Infinite. Of course, we got the first footage of the gameplay today, of the campaign specifically. No multiplayer was shown today. Of course,
60 frames per second.
Let me go over some of the notes here. 60 frames per second is one of them. It's a new engine. I think 343 has been working for a very long time to build up the Slipspace engine, which they did so for more long-term reasons than short-term. I believe they were talking about some kind of 10-year plan for this. Campaign, of course, apparently it's a little bit more open-ended. You've got level design that kind of lets you tackle objectives within the campaign mission itself any way you choose. And what we saw today was quote-unquote several hours into the story. So anybody want to jump in? How about you, Joseph?
What? You just want my thoughts on all that?
Yeah, what did you think of the game?
Gameplay, it looked good, but like the art direction is what like set me down. It just doesn't look, in my opinion, like all that good or all that next gen.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, is that your only thought, or because if you want to elaborate on other things too, like there's definitely
just for right now, that is my only thought.
Okay. Yeah, I of course, if you've been looking at that stuff in any capacity, you've seen that the art direction has definitely been the most divisive point of that presentation.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to chime in here?
Well, Josh here. So when I originally saw it through the stream, I was super hyped about it before it started. As it was streaming, I was like, "Oh, that's looks a little meh." And I had to like rewatch it again. And so when I watched it on YouTube, I threw it on there, and I saw it on 1080p, whatever frame per second it allowed me to watch it. I was really impressed just by the gameplay itself. and some of the visuals. It wasn't until later on today that people were like showing scenes from the gameplay itself where things didn't look as polished. Like someone showed me the BR rifle. Halo 3 looked better than it was in Halo Infinite, and there was some of the grunts and stuff that didn't look, again, game polish wise. But I think that's just because it's still in its developmental stage. It's not completed yet. So I'm hoping that once it launches in November or whenever it does get launched in holiday season, that they would have worked that out, and the Series X would have boosted whatever graphics thing or whatever they're doing in regards to into what was lacking in today's
Yeah.
showcase.
And just for the sake of posterity, like you're probably raising that concern because there was some kind of hearsay that it was running on a PC and not natively on the hardware of the
Exactly.
Series X.
Hmm.
Okay.
So is that confirmed like true?
I did a lot of digging today on my phone here whenever I had the chance, and to kind of put together my thoughts and get some real sourcing on a lot of the information kind of going around, and I could not verify that at all.
Hmm.
So, but I think there was, and this is we're gonna start quoting people here, but as far as aside from the fact that whether it was running on native Series X hardware or a PC, I believe Alana Pierce had an interview with Aaron Greenberg, and all he did confirm was that it was an alpha build and not something
Alpha
formally
Bill.
advanced. I don't know what that means. We don't know what that means. We don't know how that translates to final product. Because
I
to be
mean,
honest, what we saw looked pretty damn finished. Of course, there's touch-ups that could be made at the end. But I'm always just weary of what we see online and how it's presented, just because ultimately it's never what's on your screen playing in real time. So
yeah.
Can,
that's always
can I?
something just kind of keep in your mind. Yeah, DJ, go for it, man.
Two things. One, like it was like was said, some people watched it once and saw it was fine, but then when they saw other people break it down, they're like, "Oh, it's not so good." It's kind of like one of those things. If you go frame by frame, you're going to see the problems. And the other thing
Yeah.
is at least it's not the opposite. What we've gotten a lot during E3, where the game looks super amazing, and then the final product comes out, and it's like, eh,
Garbage. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. So there's just a
Yeah.
couple things I thought
You
of.
you still get that in this industry, of course, where you get an announced trailer or a trailer that follows the announced trailer, and they say
Hmm.
it's in engine, and then at the end of the day,
It's not.
it's probably like if you could put a percentage on it, it looks only like 33% as good as that in-game uh, presentation that they said was in engine captured or what have you. Um, so yeah,
But wouldn't it be fair to say also though, because it is the new consoles, PS5, Xbox Series X or whatever, that the first launch
yeah,
titles aren't really built for that system itself because we're still within the current gen,
yeah.
and so therefore it's kind of like not fair
There's
to place the graphics or whatever what they're saying.
there's a
I
lot to
mean, didn't we have the same problem with the PS4s and Xbox? Was it Xbox One
there's a
when it
there's
launched?
there's a lot to unpack there, because once you start talking about that, you're kind of getting into the weeds as to what game development is. Now,
Mm.
granted, you're not wrong. That is absolutely a variable in all this, as far as like what launch games are and how they look in relation to the previous hardware generation. And you do see that, like, it's common knowledge that games at the end of a generation look far superior to games that came out at the beginning of it, just because developers have had plenty of time to kind of wrap their heads around hardware architecture and any kind of engine that they may be using. Sometimes developers switch engines. Like, for example, I'll just use State of Decay as an example, where I believe they used Unity for the first one, and then they used Unreal Engine 4 for the second. And if there's like a lack of consistency there, they may have to relearn a lot, which I'm not gonna say why State of Decay 2 at least looked so similar to State of Decay 1, because it absolutely did. Um, but it was running on a different engine, and that comes with different kind of with a different learning curve, of course.
Mm.
But yeah, that's a good point. But even then, one could also say this is 343 Industries. This is the curator of Microsoft's and Xbox's most important property, and I'd be hard pressed to believe they didn't have access to the Series X baseline, years ago.
In the beginning.
Yeah, from a
So
long time
That's
so
true.
ago.
so this kind of feeds into, and again, not to get too much into speculation here, but there has been, a lot of rumors that they just quite didn't know how to tackle something post Halo 5, considering the blowback they got for the campaign. And this is a studio that has, in some occasions, hit what Halo is right on the head with, spot on with what it's supposed to be, and in some cases, absolutely not. And it's hard because they're not Bungie, and even Bungie is not Bungie anymore. You're only as good as the composition of your team that put something together. And again, I'm probably showing my butt here a little bit, but Joseph Staten is not there anymore writing for Bungie, and he did not write this, and he did not write 5, and he did not write 4. Jason Jones, who is of course the infamous head of Bungie, who basically curated every single jump in Halo 3. There's this infamous story of him talking about that last jump where Chief jumps onto the ice on the right side after you've killed 343 Spark, after he's killed Johnson. There's like
Spoiler
this,
alert, by the way.
yeah,
those
I'm
who haven't played
sorry
the game.
for those of you 12 years too late or 13 years too late for the ending of Halo 3 there. But anyway, not I digress. I'm not trying to get into this here, but yeah, there's a lot to unpack there for sure, Josh.
Okay.
So yeah. Anyway, in general, besides the AJ, you haven't said anything, and Sam, you haven't said anything. You guys have anything to add?
You bet your bottom dollar I do.
All right,
But
let's hear it.
yeah, I'll just jump into it. I thought it was real cool. I thought it was really cool to see it running at 60. I thought that the combat flow, or at least it's clearly like tailored for a presentation, but it was neat. It was really neat to see
the guy playing knew
Mhm.
what he was doing for sure.
Yeah, no,
It's
he
awesome to see.
he flowed over buildings and
Yeah.
into encounters, and it's not on legendary. Like he
Normal.
had his shields popped out in the open, so
Legendary.
it made
Jesus.
me cringe constantly.
Yeah,
But
I agree.
it looked badass, and I was really sort of like on one hand like tickled, and on the other hand kind of grossed out that they made the DMR look like a scar with the magwell, and I'm just like, oh, it seemed like a weird modern touch to have this weird like throwback or futuristic weapon,
Just a small correction. That's not the DMR.
whatever you want to call
That
it.
is called the Vortex, and I don't know if it's actually replacing the DMR.
Vortex sounds a lot like a vector, which I'm sure, with that, yeah. Anyway, I thought it was cool. I like, and when he threw out the grappling hook, it was a nice oh shit moment. But actually, throwing the barrel was the bigger oh shit moment.
Right.
That like suggesting that kind of interactability with the environment. That's great.
people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
super cool.
Yeah.
Was there? Just real quick in the trailer, was there like an energy shotgun being used or something, some weird, cool looking weapon like that?
It's like a homing grenade launcher through like burst shot, like it was a brute weapon,
Yeah.
orange energy.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Ravager is what
The
it's
Ravager,
called.
yeah.
Cool. That one looked like fun.
Yeah.
A lot of the
What is that noise?
I have no idea.
Oh, that's my dog. Sorry.
It's
I'm
okay.
crazy. Like,
Yeah.
No worries, man. Yeah, no, the weapons sandbox stuff and the gameplay stole the show in a way.
cut this sucks. Sorry.
Anyway, but yeah, I'm gonna leave you guys to keep the floor. Sam, besides the flow of gameplay and the weapons presented and some of the traversal stuff, just because it's the hotly contested discussion, what did you think of the visuals, man?
I thought they looked good. I mean, it's a giant open world. Like, maybe I'm wrong to expect this, but I hope to be able to go to every part of that goddamn ring, every kilometer.
Full circle.
Yeah, full circle.
Yeah.
Like that's the promise, the unspoken promise. And if that's what if the visuals have to look however they look to achieve that, then so be it. Like, I hadn't heard any controversy about visuals. I thought it looked great on my I'm watching it on my cell phone.
Yeah. Yeah. AJ?
Yeah, so, Snouty here. I'm a hater and not a fan, to be honest, uh, in general. So, as an outsider, to me, the game looked kind of more of the same. Very uninspired shootouts with those insect villains, and they have no real personality to speak of. I don't really see the fun that you guys speak of. I think the game looked like, and I've been told to have a civil tongue, I think the game looks like Shirt. The backgrounds were uninspired. The flat
They were.
skyscrapers, they may have been an aesthetic choice, but it looked cheap. I think the
It did.
mechanics have been the same since more or less 2001, whenever the first Halo was released, and I think that some might say, "Hey, that's consistency," but I'd call it boring. The voice acting was not great, and that's being
Wait.
very kind.
There was voice acting?
Yeah,
Yeah, they talked at
I
the
don't know what
beginning.
that gray monkey creature thing. Again, I'm not a fan.
The
I don't
Banished.
know any of the names or
No.
whatever. So, yeah, it was terrible. Also, in the beginning, the pilot was speaking. That wasn't very good. I don't know. It just the acting and the animation looks very much like a video game created by a company that's sort of stuck in the early 2000s success of a game that's sort of living on its reputation. So to me, I was hoping for something great, and so far I did not see it. I think from fans, perhaps they might appreciate it and say, "Hey, cool, Halo, more of it," and that's great. But from an outsider's perspective, it's like, "Hey, yeah, more of the same. Not really interested."
Yeah.
That's fine.
So those are my thoughts.
I think that's real fair criticism. I bet the things with the grappling hook and the throwing the objects, those might seem like small touches, but I think they open up a lot of possibilities or opportunities to really interact with the world and the space. And I know that people say like, "Oh, this looks a lot like Halo One." I think that's a good thing. I think that that ring has so much character and so much personality. It's a big part of the game. I think getting to interact with it more will be a big differentiator here, even if the combat might be very similar.
Yeah.
So
And,
I have to ask, and I don't want to start an argument, but after you say things are uninspiring and stuff like that, then what would your opinion of a good new game be? I mean, I need a baseline basically.
You'd have to, I'm not I don't keep up with games, but I guess Cyberpunk looks amazing to me. Visually, stunning choices aesthetically. The backgrounds are inspired, and I know that there's a lot of neo-noir going on there, and then, a lot of sort of, flashy things going on there. But to me, I think a game that I was really looking forward to that disappointed me incredibly was Crackdown 3. And it's because ultimately their choices were to give you a lot of bright lights, a lot of bright, beautiful lights, that sort of are more of a distraction, and to sort of try to keep you interested rather than actually put thought into the design of the actual backgrounds or the actual stage. So, like, to me, when you have all these things that are sort of crashed around you have crashed planes and whatnot. If there's no purpose for them to be there, if you don't have to go inside and you don't have to get something from there, if there's no one to rescue, if there's that sort of stuff, it's like, okay, it's there, it might be interesting, but it's, other than that, it doesn't have a purpose. So to me, it's a little uninspired. And beyond that, if it looks if it has a certain aesthetic choice, and the aesthetic choice that they have, it reminds me of a video game that essentially was built 20 years ago. I'm just not going to be that impressed by that particular look, and in particular the flat skyscrapers on the mountains, and in the backgrounds were a huge distraction to me. But again, it might have been an aesthetic choice.
you talking about Crackdown 3 or Halo in regards to those skyscrapers?
In Halo, the flat skyscraper, the I guess the carvings into the mountains that were flat.
Yeah, the weird geometry choice that they went with.
Just like, as an aesthetic choice, it might be a conscious aesthetic choice, but it just looks so cheap that it's distracting. So I don't know what they were going for there, but from an outsider, I look at it and I say, wow, how lazy or uninspired or As opposed, like, I know Sam is enthusiastic to explore the entire like ring, but I'd be like, so what? It's just another flat geometrical shape, that is essentially easy to produce and doesn't really inspire anything.
Yeah. On the
I think
surface, you could say something like that.
I
for
think
sure.
that everything you see there provides like an opportunity for inspiration. Like I talked about the ring having a character, and I think having all those things placed there, the crashed ships, the buildings on the mountains, that's all part of like environmental storytelling. And it's like, oh, you may not have anything to do there, but it's something for you to wonder at and ponder as you go about doing other things. So you see that crashed ship, like, oh, who
Environmental
died there?
storytelling, yeah.
Yeah,
That's what I was
or
gonna
who
say.
built those buildings?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
AJ makes a good point, because if you look at it just from a simple development standpoint, a lot of the things that we saw in the distance were very like hardware easy, as in they're not taxing on the hardware because it's a repetition of the asset. So in that regard,
Right.
for sure, like I could see why someone from the outside looking in would be like, hey, this looks cheap. But then, and that's probably what the dividing line is between those looking out and, on the outside looking in, and those that know, oh, well, we know that's Forerunner walls.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of ironic that you mentioned that, because like Bungie is like famous /
Yeah.
infamous, as you said, for recycling assets. And so even in the early Halo games, those were the same buildings, like rubber stamped over and over and over again. And like, so in a weird way, Halo fans are acclimatized to that boring design, just because like, oh yeah, that's how it looks here.
Sure. And also,
I think the key word there is boring.
yeah, for sure, man.
Yes.
I get what you're coming from. But yeah, no, I think that there was definitely a decision there to make that design choice as far as art direction goes. I can't speak to the geometry, because they did talk about the ring being explorable and talking about biomes and different environmental areas, because within the
Oh, and
lore,
the creatures.
right?
Did y'all see those
There's
critters?
I think there's a lot to unpack there, and I think they may have put too much wink wink nod nod for Halo fans there, and not enough for people like AJ, and that's totally a fair thing to say, because they can't if they know Halo fans are all in, and they've done a relatively good job, because despite the fact that Halo 5 was considered the worst campaign, I think it's still overall a great campaign. And the places that you went to see, and some of the cultural stuff regarding the Healy homeworld that you saw, and some of the stuff on Requiem, as far as like the art design there, is I don't want to call it fauna, but not the plant
Were
life or
there
whatever. Yeah, no,
Maybe
I don't
maybe
know what
worse
to call it.
story.
Yeah,
Maybe,
were there
but a
animals?
pretty
I
cool
didn't.
campaign.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Were
anyway,
there animals?
no,
Like
In the
creatures?
there
trailer?
wasn't, and of course the
Okay.
animals are there because Zeta Halo, which is the location that this one is on, is because of the indexing of DNA of different
Yeah.
animals and creatures. But anyway, that's something that AJ and people like AJ don't have to know. Like, they shouldn't have to know that going in to be like wondering about, okay, Halo 1 and 2 and Delta Halo and installation this or that didn't have wildlife.
No.
Why does this one have it?
Yeah.
That's a good question to
Yeah.
ask, and it's a dumb thing to put forward and not have them, maybe put it in, but don't make it the main attraction. Don't make this a pure visual piece or vertical slice of footage for the Halo fan. Make it so that you're bringing more people in. And granted, the argument could be made one way or the other, because of course these are opinions and whatnot. But I think AJ brings up very good points that should be addressed in one manner or another. Despite the fact that, even that aside, I personally think the game looked really good. I think it's impressive that the fidelity of that game was what it was, running at 60 lock. Like, it felt like there was no dip in performance whatsoever. And the art direction is definitely different, but I'm also the kind of person that was always fine with either or. Within the Halo community, there's that discussion about Halo Reach visuals perpetuated, and then of course the Halo 1, 2, and even 3 visuals, where this kind of takes the lead on that more so than anything else. But then again, it goes right back to that conversation, right? Like, people outside looking in don't care about the arguments being had about Halo's aesthetic within the Halo community. So that's that. But yeah, I just to close my opinion on it, I think the game looked awesome, and I'm excited as hell.
So for those of you that think that the game looks good, what's your baseline? I'd like to know. Like, what are the games that you think look
It's
amazing?
relative. It's not to say.
I think
There's a
think
lot
that
of
the
good-looking
game
games
looks
out there.
good.
Yeah.
I think it looks good independent of other games,
That's
though.
right.
I think
That's
it looks
right.
good because it adheres to the game's internal like mechanical design, and but just richer, like more detail on everything.
And
Like
also
yeah.
And also just to say that it's relative. It's not going to be a Red Dead Redemption 2, Cyberpunk, Last of Us 2,
Well-
because those games are like top tier visuals, but it's relatively good looking, and at that point, you're not talking about something that has like a bunch of jagged edges and it's hitching and screen tearing and no textures and whatnot. Like there is an aesthetic there, and you may like it and you may not like it, but the game, like I'd be hard pressed to believe anybody would just say no, this game looks just like utter garbage like that. I would say that's not fair to the game.
My thing is it's one thing to say, hey, I don't really like the way the game this looks, but
Mhm.
when you use words like uninspired, it's just like, okay, what do you mean by that? Which you explained it, but
No, I think
I don't know.
I think he made good points.
Yeah.
And that shouldn't be taken away at all.
No, it shouldn't. It just, I don't know.
Yeah. But anyway, as you can all tell, we just spent what is this, 26 minutes talking about Halo Infinite almost. With quite a
next
few
subject.
games there. But if anybody else has
Just-
any kind of things to say about that, we can
Real
move
quick.
on. Yeah.
Yeah, so I just read it. I'm not sure if it's actual true or not, but like I read that 343 was going for more of Bungie's original idea of what Halo 1 was supposed to be. It was supposed to be like this big
Supposed to
Yes.
be.
open world
Open
kind of
box.
thing with
Oh, yeah.
Well,
just like an open world kind of thing.
I think
And we got a glimpse of that
Yeah.
in Halo 1, but it wasn't fully fleshed out, and you could tell of how linear the campaign was. Like, yeah, you're in this big sandbox, but you're still being directed where to go and all that. You
Yeah,
can choose where to go, but
Yeah.
that's just about it. There's nothing else to explore or no points of interest, stuff like that.
yeah,
Yeah, because it was
And
linear.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, like the second level of Halo 1 is
that's right. Yeah.
it's kind of what we saw in the trailer
Exactly
today. Like
right.
tooling around on the Warthog. You even have like branching paths you have a fork in the road in that
Three-pronged-
level.
three-pronged
Yeah, and then you
forward.
come back
Yeah.
and do the other branch. So it's
Yeah.
but it's still like
By the
if
way-
you didn't have those narrow paths, you could easily imagine that spread out over a bigger space, but the same sort of gameplay loop mapped onto it. Maybe more organic. I don't
Yeah.
know.
And they did mention that the sections in the game where they become open-ended this way are divvied up within the campaign, because if you can kind of rationalize and kind of reason here that, well, the footage we saw today was several hours into the story, quote unquote, and then they talked about that the open-ended parts of the game would be sprinkled throughout. So there is almost like a parallel path of gameplay here where you may have, maybe once you beat the campaign, the ability to explore the ring, as they say. But there will be that campaign that's also in the more traditional sense, but also mixed in with what you just read, Joe, where they talked about kind of going back to the vision of a more open-ended environment to tackle things. And to be said, just kind of to touch on what AJ said a little bit as far as what's there just to look at. AJ, they did talk about, and I don't know whether any of this is going to end up to be true and to what degree it'll be true, but if it makes you feel any kind of better, they did talk about there being like secret things around and not just things to look at.
Yeah,
The,
that's good.
I
Real
really
quick here, though.
yeah.
Sorry, just real quick. I
Go
have
on.
a question because so the it starts with the pilot crashing, and then what the gameplay is that supposed to be immediately after that crash?
Yes.
Because it's just funny how there's like a little warthog
Yeah.
waiting for him
Game
right around the
design.
corner.
well,
Like, oh my god!
I mean, yeah,
They'll-
you
they'll
can
explain
say
why
it's
that
game
is.
design,
There's a
but
reason.
he also passed a downed UNSC ship.
There was a ship there cut in half. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good thing that vehicle was unharmed.
If you can literally pick apart any story and look at convenience, because every story is just a trail of convenience. But that's story writing, you know. If it wasn't convenient, the heroes would never get to where they need. They would fail. Game over. We lost. So you gotta have a little
I,
grain of salt with that kind of stuff.
I think there are plenty of examples of games that the plot contrivances are kept to a minimum. And I just think that there are games that don't do that and don't need to do that. And perhaps that's Halo.
No.
I don't really know because I'm not a Halo
In
fan.
any
Um,
game, any story, you can find that one point. That one point, if that thing just didn't happen to work out the way it did, boom, everybody's dead, world blows,
well,
whatever the case.
I did say a minimum. I didn't say that there are no plot contrivances in any story. You know, I just mean specifically that the more that there are, the cheaper the story is. And that is not just a point that I'm making. That is a point that has been made by storytellers the world over.
Yeah.
You know,
But I'm
essentially, the more plot contrivances you have, the weaker your story is.
Also,
You know,
to be fair, you are talking about just strictly the narrative perspective in an interactive experience, right? Like at
or
least
another
you want to go ahead and put that caveat there because you are a person who's very, very you're a writer, and you're an aspiring director. Like you're a movie buff to the millionth degree. So you are coming at it from that perspective
yeah.
of
But
a cinema file or what have you.
me as someone who would love to be a writer of on more of the novel side of things, I would love to write long form stories. I listen and read the long form stories, and they're in there. Yeah, some authors are a little bit better than others about keeping it to a minimum, but they're always there. And if you're just going to sit there and pick it apart, it's going to be like Cinema Sins. You know, yeah, it's funny every now and then where he picks a movie apart, but ultimately, if you're not doing it to be funny, you're just being an ass.
That's I
was
think
definitely doing it to be an ass.
I think everybody
Oh
makes
well,
a
in that case, go
very
ahead.
very good
I
points.
find it amusing.
Oh,
I
in
just
that
found it
case,
amusing that the very first thing you sort of see, it's like, okay, here we go, and oh, here's a vehicle, how convenient.
and that's
It is
classic
very
cinema
convenient.
sins. That's classic
And
cinema
look at all
sins.
these UNSC weapons in a UNSC camp that
Yeah, thank
shouldn't.
goodness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But
But
no.
steel can't melt steel beams, or jet fuels can't melt steel beams.
I think
I do want to know though is you mentioned the variation in gameplay style between linear and distributed, and I wonder if this is going to be anything like Gears 5, where it would have those variations in pacing.
I think the
And
inspiration is very different there. But yeah, I see where you're going at with that.
I guess I kind of worry because like I liked Gears 5, but it didn't work for me.
No.
It's my like I kind of want. I want it all open and then just some like periods of like, oh, you went into this cave and then further into this complex and then it's longer.
And I think
Like
just
I want to get sucked into those missions instead of like stumbling on them.
to put a background to that as well, we are also fans of Destiny's storytelling of the environments and the imbued history in there, and maybe you're talking a little bit about that too, and how
Who's we?
how they
Yeah,
do that. But
I
anyway,
definitely want to inhabit the space.
Yeah.
awesome. Hey,
Then
Who who is
all you.
who is we?
I was gonna
It's a
say, I
general
don't think
term.
AJ is.
It's a general
The
term.
royal we. Me.
I think everybody made great points, and we'll see. You know, the game is going to come out, and some of us will kind of peek in and see what we like. And
Oh, before we wrap this up, I just really quickly want to ask, do you think we ever get a Halo 6, or is this just the platform for
They
continued Halo storytelling
and
ad infinitum?
this is confirmed. Halo Infinite is basically, if you boil it down, it's Master Chief Collection 2. So
I
So
think it's
yes,
just gonna be.
So-
I think it's just gonna
so
be
you're
like how
getting-
Destiny is.
Yeah, that's what I was
no,
about to
not
say.
like Destiny. It's actually
Okay.
going to be campaigns. It's going to be formal campaigns put into that world, and then some. So they were alluding to basically Halo Infinite being a 10-year game where that's the vehicle in which they're going to be delivering everything.
but do you think we'll ever see a Halo 6 after Halo Infinite? Is this building up towards
No,
something?
I don't think so.
If they do ever, and this is me trying to create a scenario in my mind where they call something Halo 6.
And it doesn't need to be that way.
Yeah, but for the sake of your raised question, I would say this would have to be way down the line, kind of like them going back and saying, okay, like we've put a number after this, so here we go, right?
Well, what happens when they hit Halo 7, man?
That's
Doesn't the universe just explode or something?
You get shot into the sun from a slingshot.
Perfect. Thank you.
Deep cut. I don't know if some
I'm
of you
surprised they haven't tried to
There will
replace Master
absolutely
Chief.
be a Halo 6, guys. They were 100% guarantee you there will be a Halo 6. It may not be called Halo 6, but it will be. Because after a certain amount of time, when this game is done, they're going to have to move on to the next thing.
Absolutely.
That's just the nature of games.
Inevitability, yes. But within the confines of their context, it's like, oh, will there be another mainline Halo game? A very long time is going to pass by before we get something else not delivered within Infinite.
I'm calling it now.
2258.
I'm calling it now. The next game will be Halo Infinite X, because the Xbox X thing.
Good stuff.
Can I be the one to jump in with the State of Decay?
Absolutely. So
Whoa.
let's put a bow on the Halo talk, and let's move right into the next announcement.
Is the next one State of Decay?
Yes,
State
of Decay 3 was announced today. In fact, it was announced right after Halo Infinite was. Some of the things to note here is that they showed animals being infected by whatever it is that the Zeds were, and I call them Zeds because that's the proper term within the game, but of course they're just zombies. I just want to throw this out there because these are some of the notes that I took based on real information that's out there or lack thereof. No mention of engine, so we don't know what engine they're using, which is relevant only because, of course, we've seen the issues with them moving from one engine to another. Granted, they were a small studio before they were acquired by Microsoft. Now they've staffed up and they're basically becoming a AAA developer. But so no engine, and then speaking of developer, right before the game was announced, there was no Undead Labs prompt telling you they're the developer.
Oh, really?
So that is very interesting to me. So anyway, who wants to jump? Oh, actually, yeah, AJ, you want to jump in first? So go ahead.
Well, I gotta tell you, I do not believe that game will look like that at all.
That was a cutscene.
That is a movie.
Yeah,
it is
that was a
deceptive.
cinematic
It is a
trailer.
lie.
Yeah.
That
Most of
movie
these
is a
trailers seem
lie.
like they were cinematic.
Yeah.
Most of them,
I
yeah.
do not believe that the end product will look anything like that.
That's
And
fair.
if it does, count me among one of the most interested. But I don't think it will be, and I think it's going to be, unfortunately, more of somewhere between, the differences between 1 and 2, but essentially the same. I don't believe it.
You have
So those are
every
my
right.
thoughts.
You have every right to say that because, of course, from a technical standpoint, 1 to 2 was I'll use the word borderline uninspiring for me, even as someone who really loved the game. I put almost 100 hours into that game, State of Decay 2, that is, and again, from a technical side, it's like, man, you guys just kind of started from scratch and kind of made your way back to the line where you were before. Granted, they did expand on a lot of the cool systems that State of Decay is popular for, which did resonate with a lot of people that love that series. But like AJ pointed out in our Halo Infinite part of this, you're trying to expand that, right? I would think so. You want more players, so you can't only tailor to the people within that fan base, even if it's healthy enough to kind of keep you going as a developer. And granted, that's their passion, right? Like these developers try and make the games they want to make, and there's a lot of talk about creative control, whether that's marketing or true or both. So, but anyway, yeah, AJ makes good points there, and as I'll be counted among the skeptics as well as far as its technical prowess and what they do. But granted, there are signs that point to it being something else entirely as far as the technical side, because, like I said, I think they've doubled in staff at Undead Labs, and of course, Unreal Engine 5 is coming out, and we've seen what that's capable of. But even then, Unreal Engine 4 is also a very capable engine, and you just don't know. There's too many questions there, which is probably why I side more with AJ on the skeptic side. even as someone who really enjoys the gameplay in that thing, or the systems underneath the hood of that game, as how it auto generates certain things regarding population and interactions with survivors and how they come in and how they phase out, and some of the flow from map to map as you move your settlements and whatnot. But
Yeah,
anyway,
I thought
will-
State of Decay 2 was going to do what this game essentially looks like it's going to try to do, or deceive you into believing it's going to try to do. I just don't. I don't see it happening because it's hard. I'm a skeptic by nature, but in this case, it seems like it's a pretty big leap. I'd like to believe it's true, but I don't think it is.
yeah, that's fair.
I got a question. So State of K2, there was a game I was really interested in, like I said before, until I got to know more about it, and then it lost my interest. It's not a story. It's not like a story-based game, a narrative game, but it's not really a multiplayer game because you had to join other people's games to play
Yeah.
multiplayer.
Yeah.
So it wasn't focused on multiplayer. So what kind of game was it?
It's more of a game where you had your own settlement. Think of Animal Crossing, for
Okay.
lack of a better
Zombies.
example.
Oh,
You have your own island. You're curating your own island. You have people who come and go into that island, and they offer different things that either equip you with armor or weapons or assets that you just can't get within the map that you've selected, because of course it's a resource management game with some like RNG thrown in for like people getting sick, people getting angry, social
So
tensions.
it's The Sims.
It's basically a
It's
zombie
The Sims with
simulator.
zombies.
That's right. And of
That's why
course,
I didn't play it.
and then of course then I lost my train of thought there. But anyway,
Sorry.
yeah, no, it's okay. It's basically that, um, and yeah, that's probably why you lost interest, and because it only provided more systems to the game. State of Decay 2 was a huge iteration on the original system side, but technically, gameplay, real-time gameplay wise, there was maybe some polish there, but of course not enough to have someone from the outside looking in dive in and say, yeah, this is good or what have you, for sure.
Yeah, I get it. Basically, they would have to change the entire game for me to be interested in it.
Yeah, and at that
The
point,
style
it's
of
just,
game,
yeah, it probably isn't what
They're not gonna.
what yeah that fan base wants, because they want the stuff, the simulation stuff for sure.
I like some sim games, but like I used to love Sim City back in the day. But I don't know, like a lot of sim games nowadays don't catch me the way they used to.
Yeah, because a lot of them are the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of monotony there.
Mm.
All right. Anybody else want to kind of talk about State of Decay 3?
I've never played any of them, so I couldn't
Really?
really speak to it.
I don't have anything for it. I mean, I like the game, even though I never finished it, just because it got kind of like. Because I played with you guys. I played multiplayer with you guys, so
Yeah.
that kind of like dulled the experience down a lot for me, and I just stopped.
I will say, going back to DJ's point, because you just reminded me, Joseph, that's the multiplayer, DJ. You go into someone else's world to kind of shore up on your stock, and you get bonuses for helping another survivor in what they're doing.
Oop.
Anyway,
I would just real quick. I think it'd be better if it was a shared world
Yeah.
with your friends, like the people in your clan or whatever. That was a shared world, but that's just me.
And just so you know, this was their goal when they started the studio. I think State of Decay 1 and 2 are products of just them being short-handed and short on cash. They were an independent studio, and then after State of Decay 2 released, then they got bought out by Microsoft, and then since then they've doubled their staff and for whatever that's worth.
If they make it something like Ark Survival Evolved, then I'd probably be more interested.
Yeah,
Zombies and
to a
dinosaurs,
degree,
hand in hand.
I don't want them, because Ark's a good game, but it has so many things keeping it from being a great game. But I do have fun playing Ark, but I usually go into creative modes and just see what I can build. That's what I like doing in Ark.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's basically.
I haven't played it much. My brother invited me into that game, and he became obsessed with it. Like that he.
What do you call it? Minecraft. Ark is just a better looking Minecraft with dinosaurs, but you can do so much more in Minecraft than you can do in Ark. There's
Yeah.
just so much more.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
to be fair to Ark, Minecraft has had what, close to a decade of support on the back end to kind of facilitate all those
Yeah.
systems.
True.
So anyway, are you guys?
Jonathan.
Hey, Jonathan, just joined the podcast. How are you, Jonathan?
Just throw him right into the fire.
Hey,
My
buddy.
stars.
Oh shit, that's Sam. Sam Aculis.
Yeah.
Sam
So, man.
Aculis up in here.
Love Snouty, DJ, Fabe.
Jonathan, we're talking about
Yo.
State of Decay 3. Do you have any thoughts?
It looks the trailer looked it looked nothing like State of Decay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't know if it was hinted, but did you notice that when she screams, she scared away the zombie somehow?
She's
I don't know if they
using
gave
Well,
you
she
the
scared away a wolf.
animalistic yell to ward
Oh, okay.
off, and like she's basically becoming the alpha predator there or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
she
thought it
scared
was
away
like
a
some
wolf.
other game, something to do with
For
like
sure.
werewolves or something.
I don't know if I speak for myself, but I also thought that when looking at that trailer, I was like, what is this? And then State of Decay 3 popped up. And I was
Yeah.
like, wow, that's totally out of left field.
I for some reason knew it had to do with zombies though.
For sure, yeah. One could tell.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
that's
what's
State of
next?
Decay 3. I did raise the point that no engine was
Yeah.
noted and developer wasn't listed.
Yeah,
That's very
about
interesting
that.
to me because Undead Labs is a developer that they own the IP for State of Decay. They that's their baby. Their goal of world domination, as they say, is like
Dude.
we want to make an MMO out of this at some point.
Yeah, that's what I was going to. Like, do you
Yeah.
think they're moving away from State of Decay to make the MMO or to focus on it more?
I think State of Decay 3 is that game based on what they've said.
Is it?
Yeah, based on what they've said.
But they said they wanted a MMO though, right?
Yes, and if you look at it, if you really look at it, State of Decay can be that. It just
Yeah,
it
requires
can.
far more work to be that. But State of Decay can absolutely be a franchise that goes in that direction.
Yeah, I'm just going off State of Decay 2, and
Yeah.
that's just a lot of work
It
to
is.
be put in
It is.
to make it that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You might as well call it a different game at that point. Same world but different game. But yeah.
Sure. Cool. So good stuff on State of Decay there. Let's move on to the next game. The next game they announced was Forza Motorsport, and no number, which
Really?
this would have been number 8. Things of note here is that they on the press release they did note early development. So the game is early in development in regards to where it's at as that goes. Not a numbered entry. There's a lot of talk of them kind of just throwing everything out and starting from scratch and making it even more of a simulation.
Like a rebranding?
No, not a rebranding. I think it's like, hey, this is a straight up like we're relaunching the series, if you will.
Okay.
And that's
It will make sense.
That's
Is that
something
it?
that can absolutely be done and possible here because, of course, it's a racing game. So if you go back
Yeah.
to the drawing board in every single way, there's no problems there.
Am I gonna have to read the books to be able to follow the story?
I heard someone call my name. Did someone want to jump in here and say something?
Oh, sorry, dude. It just you got cut off for me for a while. I thought possibly you were disconnected.
Oh, I see.
Um,
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
As
I know
long as
my,
I'm speaking,
my
I'll
Xbox
just
turned off,
say-
and then I had to jump back in.
Oh, no worries.
Forza Motorsports, man, that thing looked amazing, just looks wise. But to me, it's like any of those NBA games or Madden games. It's just a game I will never play.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fair. I was in the same.
You want to
boat.
play some Street Fighter then, Snotty?
Anybody want to play some Street Fighter 2?
Inside
Two.
Snouty Pig is a
Tiger.
killer Street Fighter 2 player.
Nah, dude, he hasn't played me. That's why.
Tiger uppercut.
No,
Was that 20 years ago? I would have
That's
kicked
Joshua,
some ass
no?
in Street Fighter.
that is Joshua talking to you. Yeah.
Yes, I beat you every single time you played.
I know.
Anyway, yeah. As I don't know if anyone else here is a consistent motorsport player. I'm probably the only one, and I understand. And I was right there with you, AJ. You can ask Joseph and Jonathan here. I always had a disdain for games that seemingly looked like the same thing every single time and had nothing to them, particularly sports and racing games. And then I just gave motorsport a shot, and I am totally in on
It's such a good
motorsport.
game.
It is amazing.
It's more than just pressing
do
A
you
or
think that
whatever,
they'll,
the gas and just
Go
driving.
faster and left.
Yeah,
Exactly.
press A to gas, right?
There's the way I described it to a buddy of mine was that imagine if a game could make you feel what the condition and traction of every tire is through your controller. Like that's what motorsport can do. Like motorsport is such a great game that it literally conveys to you through just the gamepad.
What is
That
the goal?
it's you have a real time feel for the race that you're currently on, the lap you're on, the turn you're on.
So the goal is to feel the game.
I mean, yes, and to win. Like it's a gameplay. You're
Oh,
reacting to
to
what
win.
you're feeling while you're racing to then get
I mean,
first
yeah,
place.
it's obviously a racing
yeah.
game, so the
So
objective is
there's
to
far
win.
more to it. Like it's the game giving you a bunch of real time feedback, split second, just crazy times, a bunch of things at the same time for you to make a split second decision on whether or not you're going to take someone or pass someone, cut them on the inside, go on the outside. There's a funny story to this where, like, the physics in that game are so crazy that one time me and Joseph were racing, and I passed him up, and I guess the draft behind me kind of
Yep.
got under his car that he had kind of put some kind of kit on the front.
Yep.
So the game registered me passing him and getting in front of him. And at the speed he was going, the draft didn't help him, so he spun out without me touching him. It's cool stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Do you think that the depth of the simulation will increase?
Yes.
Along with the graphics.
Yeah.
I think
Higher fidelity.
and that's what kept me with the series. Every single time the series comes out, they've iterated significantly on the physics, and that's because what they talk about is the game. It takes account tire pressure, tire temperature, track
Yeah.
temperature, different textures on the track,
Weather,
and of
all that
course,
stuff.
like wind and whatnot, and which is one of the reasons why motorsport took so long to add weather, because their physics engine was accounting for all that, so they couldn't just add rain to it and not have it be accounted for. So when Motorsport 6 came out and they included weather, those were static choices because it wasn't like a real-time weather change. So the race would start in the same amount of water pouring down on the track, and it would end on the same amount of water pouring on the tracks.
I heard that Madden 2021, you're gonna be able to like feel every blade of grass and feel the turf, dude.
That's a good joke,
know,
but
the
that's an unfair
cleats-
comparison, my friend.
The cleats are gonna be like, so you're gonna like be able to lace them up and tie them up, and if you don't tie them up,
Have you
just-
played the
Wow,
motorsports
dude.
game,
You know, this is gonna
AJ?
go.
You know, now
I
that
love
you
I
think
porn.
about
have,
it,
but it's just like, again, to me, at the end of the day, the objective is to make the
there's more to a
circle
game
and
than just the objective, though.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
the other thing
there
about that
is. There are
is whether or
subtleties,
not.
but I'm just saying, like, to me, at the end of the day, I compare it to these sports games. It's just
I mean, technically, it is a
the end
sports
goal
game.
is just they look beautiful. They can look amazing. They can be amazing maybe, and they can simulate this part or that part of the game. Maybe the passing, maybe the jumping, whatever. And at the end of the day, I'm just like that particular game doesn't appeal to me.
That's fair.
So while I think it's again, and I'm not trying to put it down because overall I think it looks amazing. I think it's one of the most incredible looking things that I've seen. Every single time they put out something from Forza, I'm like, holy crap, look at those cars. They are beautiful and they're incredible and it is an achievement. But is it a game I'm going to play? Probably never.
Yeah, that's fair.
I used to play a lot of sports games, both motorsport, football, basketball, and the one thing that killed that for me was basically when I got out of the military. When I was living in the barracks, you had a bunch of guys in a room, with the TV, and someone would bust out that Xbox or whatever,
Mhm.
and it was like Madden, it was the racing games, and it was fun to play those games sitting next to your competition. You could talk trash, you were drinking beer sometimes. But like when I left that environment and I tried playing those games online against random people, one, half of them are cheesy as hell, which is just annoying. The other thing was it was just like I didn't feel that competitiveness if I wasn't there or at least communicating with the person I'm playing with, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just the internet and just not having a group of people to play with kind of killed those games for me.
You make a great point, DJ, because there are some games that are just so much better when you're playing with friends, and I mean like live,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah,
Talking trash.
exactly.
It's in fact, I don't really play Street Fighter 2 anymore unless I'm playing it to beat somebody, and if that somebody is somebody that I can like be in front of, you know? It's like,
Yeah.
that's
You
the
want to be there
joy.
with them. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, I could see that how, you know, I've played, you know, some of these sports games. I haven't played them since like 20, I don't know, 14,
Yeah.
2015. But,
Yeah.
you know, it's like they can be fun when you're playing with groups like that. So I get that. I get how some people would be interested in those types of games for sure.
Yeah. All right.
Cool. But yeah, I'm super excited because it's basically tearing down the whole thing and making it anew and with all new tech, and that's very, very exciting for me. So cool. Are we good with Motorsport?
Yes,
Yeah.
let's move on.
Very
Oh, can I
earnest.
open for Everwild?
Yeah, go for it. Everwild. Let me just read off some things here. This is developed by
So I can't
Rare.
open.
I'm sorry.
So I can't open for
Oh, I'm
Everwild.
sorry. I'm sorry. I just wanted to read off some baseline facts. which
Yo,
is-
I got this one.
Go for it.
Give me
Oh,
the
wait.
mic.
Okay, Sam's got it.
No, it's a second trailer. This was originally unveiled in XO19 December last year. It's developed by
Hell yeah.
Rare.
Hell yeah.
Same team that, well, it's the same studio with some of the peripheral staff that was still there during the Golden 9 days, Banjo-Kazooie, and then much later the Viva Pinata series and the Sea of Thieves game.
Hell yeah.
Go ahead, AJ.
This will be
No,
the
me.
most boring thing since Sea of Thieves. That's it.
That's fair.
So remind me because you guys know how my memory works.
Oh,
Is this
man.
that really cartoon looking one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I mean, there's
in
a
my
lot of
opinion,
cartoon-looking ones, so you may
but
not be
like
thinking about the story one, but
It's the cartoon-looking one where they have some sort of environmental message, I think, or something.
we're the one with the big frog thing.
Yeah.
barked up the fish.
yes,
They're
that's the
holding
one.
hands in a circle and doing
That's
a
the one.
seance.
So the only thing I can say about
Yes.
this game is that they didn't show us, as far as I could tell, any gameplay. So we really know nothing about it
That's
except
right.
for an art design and
And that
maybe
it's
a
from
theme.
Rare.
And it's from Rare. Yeah.
They also showed
man.
they also showed far more of the world in general and what would
Yeah.
be in there, and they hinted at some of the interactions, but yeah, there's very little concrete information regarding it besides what we
So
saw.
we can't really. It's hard to say anything about it,
Yeah.
other than it looks pretty. You
That's
know.
right. Yeah.
I didn't
Yo.
like the look,
Right.
but that's me. It's just an aesthetic choice.
Yeah.
I like
I
it.
thought it looked
I like the
freaking
cartoony stuff.
Quick
I
question,
really
quick
thought it looked
question.
awesome. Go
Feature.
What's up, John?
Oh, I
Did you guys
uh,
talk about Warhammer? I just
Not
wanted to
yet,
know.
Not yet,
for it.
not
We're
yet.
getting there.
Oh,
We're
not
getting
yet,
there.
but we're
Okay,
gonna
okay,
get there.
okay, that's it. I just wanted to bring up the subject because I thought I missed out on a lot of stuff. Right.
No, we're going basically
yeah,
Alright, cool,
in
cool.
the order that the games were revealed.
All right,
Alright.
continue with the Everwild.
it's a really goofy thing that I thought Everwild was the second thing they showed after Halo.
Just
No,
blanked
like
everything else out.
that trailer made me start like tearing up. It was
Yeah.
really wild.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it
I
was
love the way it looked,
gorgeous. Like it reads to me like a game where it's like Sea of Thieves, but instead of being pirates and having cartoonish good adventures, you're like a fucking druid shaman having like
Yeah.
chill ass good journey times.
Mm.
Like it's like they took Journey and Breath of the Wild and Sea of Thieves and put them in a blender with some Pokemon in there, and I'm just
Hell
like,
yeah, man.
oh my
Yeah.
god, what the fuck is
Oh
this?
my
Journey is a
God.
cute game.
There's a moment in that trailer where like one of those characters, which I assume those are supposed to be stand-in for player characters,
Yeah. Yes. They
where
are.
where that character is just like fucking floating in a pond and like
Mm.
chilling. They're like, oh, solitude. And I think about all the things I enjoy about games, and like one aspect is like social elements, like with my chums. And then another
Yeah.
element is just like, oh,
The
it's me
solitude.
and this world
Yeah.
and this space.
Yep.
And like Metroid Prime or
Or
OG
Destiny.
Halo.
Destiny.
Yeah.
Man. Destiny
Yeah,
does a
De-
great job of that. In my
I
opinion.
Destiny
most,
1
yeah.
Destiny 1 did a better job when it had poor patrol design. When it was just when the patrols ran out and it was just you in the environment, like wandering around looking at the scenery. It's like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
So that game looks incredible, and the tech. I can see the Sea of Thieves clouds like swirling around in there, and the magic.
They're
it's just
definitely using a lot of the art. Well, not art inspiration, but that you could tell it's cut from the same DNA. There's at least aesthetic wise. I personally think this game is, from a gameplay side, is probably going to be very different than Sea of Thieves.
I think about like Sea of Thieves, like some of my favorite things, at least when I dabble back into Sea of Thieves, were the mythical things, like, oh, go on this quest and like solve this riddle and look at like the weird shit happening in the world. Look at these crazy like runes glowing, and if there's a whole game that's just that, like sign me up.
Sea of Thieves basically became Indiana Jones in a lot of ways there with some of the tall tales. But anyway, yeah, that's Everwild. I think there's like DJ said, we know nothing, but at least for some of us, it looked very, very good, and I think AJ just said it wasn't his jam with as far as the art direction is.
Breath of the Wild? No, don't compare it to that game that looks that incredible.
Breath of the Wild? Wow.
Everwild is like, I don't know,
and here I was thinking he didn't like the
look of
cartoony
the
stuff.
game. No, I do. I can enjoy it. I think there are obviously really incredible uses of that sort of stuff in games, but I'm sort of getting sick of that aesthetic choice where they sort of it's 2D paint over a 3D body. You know, it's getting
like
it's being overused. But Breath of the Wild uses it, but it's like their color palette is far superior to anything that you see in Everwild. Like the actual color choice and color schemes and the actual like the particular lighting style is vastly superior. I mean, we're talking about like day and night comparison here, in my opinion, of like the quality of art direction in Breath of the Wild versus Everwild. Like, it's just there's to me there's no like world in which they're even remotely similar. You know, the grass, even the grass fields of Breath of the Wild, and I haven't even played this game other than seeing basically other people play it. You know, is so much more remarkable, you know, than anything that was in that short trailer of Everwild. I don't get that comparison. I don't like that comparison. No.
As someone who played Breath of the Wild for close to 300 hours, the comparison is spot on, and I have said so, and I will move on.
Ever since they took away Gigantic, there's a gaping hole in my heart for cartoonish 2D paint over 3D bodies, and just pour more into that gaping hole.
Pour one out for Gigantic.
I don't think it's
Gigantic.
Everybody here
looked
Gigantic.
better than this. They made better aesthetic art choices than Everwild does.
I just want more. I'm a glut for this stuff.
All right.
That's awesome, dude.
I'm going to go ahead and take an executive move on here. We were at an hour, and we are not even halfway through this list, gentlemen. So
let's move on. Rapid fire.
No, let's not get to that point yet. Tell me why.
I like rapid fire.
Tell me why we should.
Ain't nothing but a heartache.
Tell me why is the name of the next game we're gonna talk about. This is from.
Tell me why we shouldn't just move on.
Don't nod. Hey, we can. If you guys aren't really interested.
What's the next game?
It's called Tell Me Why. It's called.
This is the same as that.
It's from the makers of Life is Strange.
There we go.
Oh yeah.
This looks like that, but bigger and, like, I don't know, more interesting,
Yeah.
or not. I don't know. I didn't play
Episode
this.
1 is out on August 27th.
I've already told you guys once. I'll repeat it again for the guys that weren't here. Like, Life is Strange was a very intriguing story overall, but as you play through it, or in my case, watch someone play through it, the storytelling was just caught up in all this teeny bob stereotype, blah blah blah, girly boily stuff that just didn't interest me. Now, this is a completely different game.
It is.
So I can't really say anything good or bad about it.
It also seems like the subject matter is far darker.
Yeah.
I heard that Life is Strange 2 was also, like, darker as well.
Yeah.
I couldn't
think,
speak to those games personally, but yeah, I've that's what I've heard from those that have played it as well.
Those
But
games are not for
Pass.
everyone, but
Yeah.
they're very known. I've heard a lot of people even mention it
looks
to me like, you should play
looks
it. You should
nice.
play it.
They're
Yeah.
similar. The gameplay is similar to like Detroit Become Human. I really enjoyed this.
Oh, did DJ cut out for anybody else? Oh, I believe we're having
What's that game that they
connectivity
showed? I
issues.
think it was like a Nintendo
Gentlemen, I
game
think
where
we
it's like
had
a.
some connectivity issues here for a second. DJ, the last thing you said is what we should continue off of there.
All I was saying, I'll just repeat the last thing I said. All I was saying is if I played Detroit Become Human, I really enjoyed the storytelling and all the different branches and different ways you could go in that. If it's like that with a good subject matter, I might actually want to play it. But if it's like the first Life is Strange game where it was all teeny boppy stuff and high school drama, then yeah, I'm not going to be interested.
I think
But
at
that's
least
just
I think at least you should give it a look at the
Oh,
trailer
yeah.
and pay attention a little bit because I think the subject matter is significantly different than what you had in that first game. It seems like
Yeah.
it's not a game for me. I've dabbled in these sort of games to see what the fuss was about, and while I can appreciate what they were trying to do, this just I played Soma, I played What Remains of Edith Finch, and I know to some people out there they may not like what I'm about to say, but I think those games are they're fine for what they do, but it's as for my taste in video games, it's just not there.
yeah.
But that's just me, of course.
That's fine.
Yeah.
And that's why I
Ditto.
struggle. I'm hesitant to call it a game at all. To me, it was just like an interactive story. That's really what they should call them.
I think video games, and this is getting into a far separate subject that can take up way more time than we have available, but I think video games come in all shapes and sizes, and
True.
this kind of goes into one of the topics that I did want to talk about and kind of get people's take on, but we're not going to do that here and now because we are going through this
Okay.
list. But yeah, games come in all shapes and sizes, and the fans and people who play games are becoming as varied, if not more so, than those who enjoy different films and different types of music. And it's just becoming just another form of entertainment of which it just there's the breadth of it is just so out there that it's the scope of the industry has gone past the horizon of those who used to be able to survey the entirety of it. There was a time when you can absolutely look at the gaming industry and know about every single game and kind of have a full scope of it. In the last 10 years, I think that has changed and that has gone out the window, and we are so oblivious to the games that are out there that tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of people are playing that just we are not even aware of. So anyway.
Up, come on.
So anyway, are you guys good talking about Tell Me Why? Let's move on.
Yes.
The Outer Worlds, Peril on Gorgon.
Yes.
DLC.
Whoa. You're
Yes.
skipping Ori at 120?
Well, that was an announcement on a technical side, not a game announcement. So I was going through the game announcements first before we kind of cover details like, hey, everything here is on Game Pass, and these games are getting updated.
Okay.
So we can get to that if you'd like. I think that's worth mentioning. But anyway, Outer Worlds Peril on Gorgon DLC. It's coming September 9th, and it's going to be the first of 2 planned story-based DLCs for the Outer Worlds.
I like it.
I have not
It's
played
worth it.
this.
It's exciting.
I am
It's
beating
good.
myself over the head for
You-
so many games
you
that I
effed
have
up.
not played. Yeah. And this is one of them. This is one of them that I'm like, man, dude, I gotta play the Outer Worlds at some point. And those of you that know me know just I have a huge backlog like everyone else, but I'm also someone that's committed to chewing through it as
It's
slowly
not that long,
and
though.
painfully as possible. I mean, relative to you, Jonathan, you definitely think that a 40-hour game is not long. To me, let me just put it to you this way, my friend. Playing Breath of the Wild, I started it in December and finished it in May.
Okay.
So
That's not bad. Well,
It's
that's
not bad, but it kind of gives
No,
you
but it's
a
not.
glimpse
What I meant by,
into
like,
just how I chew through these games, particularly the longer ones.
Did you say
not
a
as long as
glint?
Fallout. Not as long as not as long as Fallout. Like it's not as long as a Skyrim game or a Fallout game. It's just
Definitely, I've heard
it's
that. Yeah.
you can't really explore. You can explore, but it doesn't reward. Like it rewards you for exploring, but it's not like
It's more
like
of a
Fallout, right?
concentrated Fallout, more so
Yeah,
than full Fallout. Yeah, I've
but it
heard
still
that.
gives you the
I feel
exploration, and
like
it's pretty
I feel
cool,
like
man.
the term I've heard thrown about from everyone that's played it, it's like all killer, no filler.
Yes, and
Yeah,
choices matter more in this one.
yeah, and
More,
I mean it's
that's what
Obsidian.
keeps you engaged.
Wait,
It's Obsidian, so of course their
what
choices
game?
matter.
What
Uh,
games were called all killer, no filler?
the Outer Worlds has been called that by those that have played it
Really?
and have come from games like Fallout and Elder Scrolls.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. No, because I just wanted to say real quick, I bought that game, and it's gonna sound hypocritical after saying I like Detroit Become Human, but I bought that game. I loved everything about that game until it came to combat. Combat was slow and clunky and boring,
No, was it?
and
You mean like an RPG
What?
where it's
eh,
less about the shooting and more
What
about
you
the
talking
stats?
about, Willis?
even if it was stats, it's like I wanna move. If you're gonna give me shooting combat, I wanna like run behind something and take cover and pop out and shoot, or I
It
wanna
was that way though.
It was
Can I
slow.
ask you
Well,
guys
it
a
depends how you
question?
played though.
It was slow. What?
I'm sorry. Can I ask a question? So I didn't play the Outer Worlds. I have it because like I think it was or is on Game Pass.
It is on Game
Um,
Pass.
okay, and it was one of those rare games that I download because I conserve space and whatnot. But so is the Outer Worlds the original game not very much a storytelling game?
Was very
And
much a
It is very
storytelling
much
game.
story based. Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
and these story add-ons are essentially going to be more of the same, right?
Right.
Heavy on the story.
It's a
Tell you that,
DLC.
super heavy.
Okay, perfect. Okay, that's what because it does look good. I mean, looks real good to me.
Like I said, I love the atmosphere of the game. I love the storytelling of the game, and it was so interesting. I want to keep going, but every time I got in combat, and honestly, I feel the same way about Fallout, and I feel the same way about freaking Elder Scrolls. That game put me to sleep. Elder Scrolls, I couldn't
Spacious
stay
choice.
awake.
Blasphemy, DJ.
Sorry.
Blasphemy.
Sorry.
No
Scrolls.
way,
No, 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 no.
Okay.
It's a joke. I mean,
Yeah.
those games absolutely have the detractors, and some of the detractions to those games is of course the gameplay not being more responsive, if you will. But I think that's inherent, and people who
True.
love those games know what comes with that. I think.
I wish I could play because, like I said, the story is good. The atmosphere, that science fiction with the comedy that's kind of making fun of like governments and big businesses and corporate.
Yeah.
I love that stuff.
Yeah,
So I was kind of
Spacious
mad.
choice.
very clever.
Yeah,
to say the
Spacious
least.
DJ, you
yeah.
have
I've
DJ,
played.
you have done. I'm sorry, DJ, you've done a great job of selling me on the game.
Yeah,
Just like I want to play it like
Spacious
now.
choice, guys.
dude, if you
That's all I
like
gotta say.
Fallout and Skyrim and you like all that other stuff, yeah, Spacious Choice. Yeah.
The
Yeah, Fallout.
I-
for sure.
Spacious choice.
there's a lot to be said about Obsidian and their writing ability. As someone who put in like 40 hours into Pillars of Eternity the first one, that game is that the writing in that and the scenario stuff and just how it paints the characters and the depth that it gives the characters, even after you just meet them, is just really great. But they're
So we're
they're
talking
famous
about
for
Valve
that.
now, right?
We're talking about Obsidian in general, who developed the Outer Worlds and who also developed this next game. I don't know if you guys want to move on to Grounded yet.
I do want to move
I want to
on.
play this.
Yeah,
Oh, so hard.
So I'll be quick.
yeah.
Which
So
one was
this
this
is-
again?
Grounded is the survival game themed
Honey, I
around
Shrunk the
Honey, I
Kids
Shrunk the
survival game.
Kids.
Yeah.
It's not literally using
Oh.
that license, but it's the same concept. These children are
The-
shrunk down and are trapped in their backyard.
The
The
spider
one that
thing
looks
was
like
so funny.
in the gunk, but more realistic.
No.
Go on, keep going. Rock on.
I'll just talk about this real quick because this is a game I am interested in. The only things I can say is it's basically going to be like Ark or Conan Exiles, but they're making it very kid friendly. Which, as you guys know, some of y'all know at least that follow my Instagram, I'm a lover of invertebrates. So being shrunk down and having to deal with bugs and spiders and stuff just seems amazing. I just wish they would have kept it more realistic and less
You're talking about the
kid.
theme?
Yeah, the theme. It has
Okay.
kind of that rounded, cartoonish.
Yeah.
Let's be said. When those creatures in real life were that big to you, they would look like nightmares, literal nightmares. And
Right.
I wish they would have went that route. But I still think I'm going to play that game.
Yeah.
Dude, I saw
That
your
would have actually
tarantula
given
and
me
it gave me
nightmares.
nightmares when I saw it on an Instagram
Nightmare
post.
fuel.
I'm trying to get a good feeding clip with him, but it's tough. He doesn't like going out of
Ugh.
his hidey hole.
I got a little goose
Um,
bibbles just thinking about it.
It's
I
a
thought.
survival. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, AJ.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I thought it was the most interesting game to come out since, I don't know. You know what I mean, maybe I'm completely wrong here, but it gave me vibes of what, because it showed that they were sort of building forts or whatever.
Yeah.
It gave me that vibe of like what the original idea of Fortnite was supposed to be.
Oh,
Oh,
right.
You know,
yeah.
like maybe, who knows? Maybe it'll become a battle royale game.
I hope
I
not.
hope
God.
not. Yeah.
I think it's going to be closer to Ark than any of that stuff, except for you probably
Yeah.
won't be able to tame anything.
That'll be cool too. Either way,
Yeah.
I did like the goofy aesthetic, choices. I would not. I hate spiders, man. I really, really hate spiders.
They
Like
help you a
I'm
lot
not
as
afraid of them.
mosquitoes.
And I
Mm.
told
Hornet. Mhm.
I've told Andrew and out the story of like a spider that was crawling up my chest as I was sleeping,
Mm.
and Tanya was like on my around. I had Tanya around my arm, and I literally like whooped my arm around from her so hard it gave her like whiplash because I'm like pounding on my lungs like like just terrified of this spider crawling up my chest, and I just like I hate spiders, but so I appreciate like you're saying that you want the actual look. Yeah, those things are nightmare fuel. They're a real thing. I would not want to deal like that's actually like some of the in some games they have like spider-like creatures or any
Mhm.
creature that even slightly reminds me of spiders, like in I don't know, Dead Space, where some of those crawling
Ugh.
things are reminding me of
Yeah.
spiders.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
just like it gives me such the big time creeps.
They
I cannot handle
it's
it.
funny that you guys mentioned and spent so much time talking about spiders because they've actually added a arachnophobic what's it called, accessibility feature where they change them into something else
Oh, wow.
for those that are actually afraid of them.
Really cool.
It is. I mean, you don't have to play it that way.
Yeah.
But it's an option there for those who just can't stomach it and would want to play the game. But anyway, yeah, the game has crafting for armor and weapons. And
Face your
buildings and
fears, coward.
fortifications. There's progression for
Yeah.
each of those building abilities. Apparently, there is a campaign in there that ends up
Where?
with you working towards trying to get yourself back to normal size. And what really blows my mind about this game, and clearly again
The
with
mod,
passion
yeah.
projects, it's like 12 people working on this game at Obsidian. It's like a
Nice.
back end team that's not working on the next game that we're going to talk about, which is Obsidian's next major main game. But anyway, anyone else? Jonathan, you have some thoughts on Grounded, right?
I haven't seen too much on it, but as soon as I saw it, I knew I was gonna play it. Like it's one of those like fun. Like I like the colors. I can tell you that. Like it's a lot of the tint is very orangey, brown,
Yeah, you're out in the sun.
reddish, and well then again,
I think the big draw is just like we all have had a child and we all have had like those imaginations where we're like
Yeah,
Oh,
playing in the
yeah.
insects
backyard.
and all that, playing in the
Yeah.
backyard,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
that
yeah.
just calls
Feeds into
into like
that.
our inner child, to like
Yeah.
nostalgia and all that.
yep,
And it-
wanting to
and it
like
pulls it off in a
stab
good
your
way.
friend in the backyard. Hell yeah.
Yeah,
For
like
whatever- for whatever
leads
it's
to the
worth,
spiders.
Yeah, for whatever it's worth, like the people who played this in early beta. By the way, it's coming out July 28th on early access, both on Steam
Ooh.
and on Xbox. The people who baited this
Getting that.
game apparently just ate it all up. That game went from like 0 attention to like, just for whatever it's worth, the social media impression metric. Like they have a ton of followers now, and their posts on updating the game gets like thousands of likes, if not almost close to like approaching double digit 10,000s or something. But that game has definitely grown, and it's curated a great following from just the
Sam fall
beta.
asleep?
Is that?
No, sir.
Oh, I was gonna say,
Oh,
did
okay.
someone fall asleep?
Someone's
Sounded
doing
like
some
that.
It wasn't me this
illegal
time, I
stuff.
promise.
Wait,
Oh,
I thought
boy.
that shit was
Not here,
legal
not
now.
now.
It is legal now.
Okay, gotcha.
Damn, pass the bug, man.
Yeah.
Papa
All right.
Fat
Fig.
rips.
So that's Grounded, and my personal take, I think that game looks fun as hell.
Yeah, me too.
Yep.
Avowed. So Obsidian has
Avowed.
basically showed all its cards. This is a developer that put out the Outer Worlds last year, early last year, right, or mid last year. They've got, of course, a smaller team working on Grounded, but the majority of the team and what they've been staffing up for is basically so. Obsidian is, I think it's worth mentioning some of the pedigree here. Obsidian is a developer that fragmented off of original developer of Fallout. So Fallout 1 and 2, before it was passed over to Bethesda to make the now infamous Fallout 3, Fallout was made by a development team that fragmented into two teams, In Exile and Obsidian. And it's ironic that Microsoft now owns both of these studios independently, separately. So the lineage here is that Fallout came from Wasteland, of which of which In Exile develops. So In Exile is currently still the curator and the steward of the Wasteland series. In fact, Wasteland 3 is coming out next month. So Wasteland is the precursor to Fallout, in a way that Skyrim is or Elder Scrolls is a precursor to now Avowed. So there's been a lot of talk within those people that follow these people, not the names of the studio, of course, because Obsidian is only as renowned as it is because of the people that are there, like Brian Fargo and I forget the two gentlemen that wrote basically the creative directors for the Outer Worlds. Their names escape me now, but these guys were the creators of Fallout and Fallout and Wasteland in the original days, in the old days. And then those teams basically fragmented and formed respective teams in Obsidian and in Exile. So Wasteland is, of course, a series that's continuing. Wasteland came first, Fallout came next, and then Wasteland has kind of had a resurgence as of late. And then people always noted that there was missing competition to Elder Scrolls from the team that brought you Fallout New Vegas, and like Joseph here would say, it's the superior Fallout to Bethesda's. And
It
then,
is.
and then of course you have people who talk about these studios being the real deal, whereas Bethesda kind of just ran off and made it something else, which I disagree with. I think Fallout and Elder Scrolls are great series on their own, but that aside, Avowed is basically the response to Elder Scrolls.
Watch out, Bethesda.
Yeah, and no kidding. Obsidian is a studio not to be taken lightly. I think they have tripled in size. I think they have 3 different development teams, not counting the team working on Grounded. I believe they're pushing something like 400 people or some crazy number like that. They are basically, along with Playground Games, I think, the second studio of Playground Games, I think Obsidian is basically becoming Microsoft's first-party major RPG developer. And Avowed is basically our first glimpse into that. Granted, we know nothing other than this is developed by the main team at Obsidian, and it takes place within the universe of Pillars of Eternity, which is awesome.
Nice.
So that's just a little bit of a background check on my nerdism of Obsidian and Bethesda and all those people that were there at the forefront of the creation of the CRPG and what we know as the Western RPG today, of course. So anyway, I'll leave the floor to you guys. I just rambled on a bit about this.
Yes.
The one
Looks
thing
great.
I'd say, yeah, maybe it's a cutscene or a cinematic. It looked beautiful, but I got this thing about first-person sword and shield games. They don't like it.
The historical precedent is not kind to first-person melee games, but there is Left 4 Dead, with the crowbar.
Yeah, they're not all bad.
They're not all bad for sure.
That's
I think
all
we
I
need
got
to see more. Yeah, so I agree with
Yeah.
BJ.
Yeah.
It was just a short,
and there's-
announcement trailer, so there's nothing to go on, really.
Absolutely. And you know, we talked about this with Everwild. There is a running theme here that we've seen after we saw some of the gameplay footage from Halo and some others here and there scattered about. Like, you know, not to get ahead of ourselves in the topics here, but this presentation from Xbox, aside from what we got as far as the games that are coming out, you know, in the next 18 months, which are 3 or 4 of them, this was a roadmap. This was them saying, "Here's what we've got for you for maybe the first 4 years of the Series X's life here out there as the current gen, if you will, of hardware."
4 years worth?
I would say
This is
so.
4 years worth?
I would say so. Yes.
Wow, that's disappointing.
There's obviously
Only
gonna be other
AJ.
games. Yeah.
I think these games are being pushed out to 2022. I guess 3 years is what I meant.
Boo.
So some of those games are 2022 for sure, with some of them being 2021, and of course some coming this year. So maybe the correct estimation on my end would not be 36 months, but maybe 30. But anyway, that's just my estimate. But regardless of how long we're seeing into the future, I think this was them just showing like, hey, there's a bunch of stuff coming. And granted, they at the end there when they did reveal Fable, and we'll get to that in a minute, they did say, hey, by the way, we're just not showing you all our cards. We've still got 3 developers here that are working on stuff that we'll show you later. And this is just them kind of playing into the whole back and forth with Sony, which Sony is playing along with as well, because Sony has an August state of play in which they're going to reveal more games as well. So this is just part of this whole console cycle, kind of battling it out, showing your cards in fragments and in piecemeal, rather than like the standard E3 blowout that we would have had, where everybody just puts their cards down and see who kind of has what. But anyway, that's a
Drip
Valve.
feed him.
No, it's I think that's exciting, especially when you think that like, oh, and all this is on Game Pass, which is
Oh, true.
I think a lot of us here did the thing where we load up on Game Pass for 3 years or more, and it's wild to think that that's just
that's
for
the
free.
that's the other through line here. Aside from them saying, "Hey, this is our roadmap for the next 30 months or whatever," this is also them saying the underlining theme here is, "Hey, everything you saw today will be on Game Pass day one," which is insane. So yeah. So next game is As Dusk Falls.
Dusk Falls.
Yeah, it's kind of a game with a very unique aesthetic. It looks like they took actual drawings of real people.
That one.
Yeah, it's
Photographs, I
Pictures.
think.
almost yeah, like basically photographs. Developed by a newly assembled developer called Interior Night. The interesting note here, where you kind of see where they're going with this, is that the studio head, her name is Caroline Marshall. She was the lead game designer on Heavy Rain, Beyond Two Souls, and Detroit Become Human. So the pedigree there is kind of from I forget what that guy's name is over
Quantic
there.
Dreams.
Quantic Dreams, that's right. So they're basically going out on their own path and creating something similar to that, or in that vein, I guess.
Wait, which
Yeah.
game are we talking about?
It's called
The game that looks like a fancy Telltale games.
As Dusk Falls. It's basically those games are. TJ, you like Detroit Become Human, correct?
Yeah, I like Detroit Become Human. Yeah, it's one of the few games of that style that I've played, though.
Yeah, this game is in that
Oh,
vein.
jeez.
So
There is something I wanted to say about this game,
At
but it's
the end
super
of that
political,
vein.
so I'll save it for later.
oh boy. Anyway, that's cool. No worries. I can't speak to this game. For me personally, it's not my jam, but it looked cool. The visuals look for sure.
I kind of like
striking.
the comic booky. It's not moving, but it is moving. I've seen some short like X-Men comics turned into that style, and it was
Yeah.
kind of cool.
Yeah.
As far as it being a video game, I don't know.
Yeah, who knows how it plays out, what the pacing is, and granted, there's an audience for that, right? Like,
Yeah.
What Remains of Edith Finch is sitting on a Metacritic that's 93 or something like that, and there's
It's gonna be. Sorry.
no, there's definitely people who love that kind of game, and they're going to find that to be in their liking for sure.
That game's gonna be the Walking Dead video game with fancier photographs.
Yeah, no,
basically, yeah.
People know what that is. There's people who enjoyed Detroit Become Human very much so. That game sold like millions of copies. I don't know what the number is off the top of my head, but you can look it up. That game definitely sold very, very well. And it's not for us, I guess, or for some of us, as is a lot of things. Like I said, we are at a point with video games where we cannot see past the horizon. Everything that is out there is not in our sight line anymore.
A lot of people like the Telltale games too.
They do, they do.
Especially when they went mobile. I think that was a great platform for them.
Yeah, people played them on the bus, and there's.
It's because they're simplistic, but at the same time they're
for
deep.
sure, yeah. One of the most intimidating things, aside from price of entry for video games for people, is deep games. They, just to use my wife as an example, like my wife loves every Lego game. Every single Lego game, she wants to play it. She loves those games. They are simple. They are straightforward.
Yeah.
She's played Halo with me and Gears of War. That's about as deep as she's gotten with what one would call deeper games. So Gears of War, Halo, that's it.
You mean real games?
No, I don't. No, I don't want to say that. I think then there's been times where I tell her, hey, try Destiny with me, because I would love to play Destiny with her, but she's like, there's just too much going on. Like there's just too much to account for, too much to keep track of. So that's a view into someone's mind, right? Like we all know the upfront cost to get into gaming, whether it's building a PC or buying a console and then paying $60 or even waiting on for a discount for every single game you buy or whatever. Like that's a very significant upfront charge. And of course we know about the ways of other platform holders trying to ease people into that. Specifically with the news that xCloud is going to be bundled with Game Pass. Theoretically, once that happens in September, no one will ever need a physical piece of hardware to play anything on Game Pass ever.
That's just scary.
That's the way it's going to work.
But that's need versus want, though, because like everyone who grows up in the modern era appreciates like latency and lag.
There's no doubt about that. I'm just saying that to reach a higher number of people, they don't care about things we do.
No, but I do wonder. It's not people have been thinking about this for years now, but just the question of how will games be engineered differently to account for latency?
Yes.
Will hitboxes be bigger?
That's definitely a concern, right? Because then all of a sudden that starts bleeding over into things we like.
I mean, maybe, but like there's got to be a way to dynamically like modulate the experience for different people, because it's not going to be fun. No, honestly, like why not have a xCloud version and a regular version where it's just things are tweaked to account for it.
That's right.
I think it's doable. I just it'll be curious. It's an interesting, weird future.
That's right. Yeah. But anyway, that's moving on to the next game. That was As Dusk Falls. Next one is Hellblade 2. I kind of want to skim over this just very quickly. This game was announced at the Video Game Awards in 2019 last year, along with the Series X as its kind of centerpiece. If you look at it, I've had conversations with some of you regarding this game where I am a absolute skeptic on this game. Hellblade 2 looked amazing when they announced, and them saying that's running on Unreal Engine 5 and in real time, I refuse to believe that is going to look like that. It's just not possible. It's voodoo, it's magic. It's just, I don't know what it is. I can't comprehend something looking like that. And if that game does come out and it does look like that, I think that we've ascended to another plane of video games, I think.
I think it's about time.
I tell you now, I wasn't even paying attention to all that graphics and all that stuff. I had my experience with the first one, and if they can expand on that story, if they can expand on how they told that story, I'm all in, no matter what the game looks like.
And everybody that's played it,
nice.
The Hellblade 1, that is, I have nothing but great recommendations to play it. DJ, you have told me repeatedly that you've enjoyed that, and even someone like Joseph, you guys have very different kind of perspectives on the games you like, and to have both of you say, no, you need to play this, that's telling to me. But they did give one piece of information that's new. They just kind of said, hey, the game is based in Iceland, and that's basically it. So people were definitely expecting to see formal gameplay of this at this event, but we didn't.
Yeah,
we
we're
didn't
hoping.
get it.
I
But-
think I'm normally the skeptic, but I gotta say, I have faith. I want it to look like that so
I do
bad.
too.
Yeah.
I do too. I want to, but as
So-
I
someone,
believe.
hey, let me
When-
get behind you on that.
When I bought the original game, it came with a little behind the scenes thing, which it told you don't watch this till after you play the game. So I played the game and I watched it. And it was kind of cool because when they were doing some of the voice acting, they had someone who worked in the office just as a stand-in until they found the actress and they saw her
Oh,
performance.
right. I did hear
And
about that.
Yeah, they were like, "Oh, you know what? Screw, you're doing this." And they model. If you see this woman in real
It's
life,
her.
you're going to be like,
It's her.
"That's
It's literally
Enya."
her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's her. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they did an amazing job in making the main character. What happened? Oh, it got
No,
really
we're-
quiet.
Oh
for a
no, it
second.
was
Yeah, well, no, we're
me
listening.
muting. It was me muting my mic. Don't worry about it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they did a really good job of making that main character look like the actress, and I think that really helps sometimes with some games yeah.
That game sold Microsoft on Ninja Theory. The fact that they were that scrappy of a studio putting a product like that out, that definitely did them favors when they hit the market to be sold or whatever, or when they sold themselves, trying to get out of the monotony of let's just try and find the next game that's going to pay for the bills,
Yeah.
which a lot of these studios, of course, have in common.
Not to cut off
Looking at
this
you, Rare.
Hellblade 2 talk, but does anyone want to talk at all about Psychonauts 2? Because I am not interested in the
I do.
least.
Nah.
I do.
Oh, real quick though, I just want to note that a lot of the information that came out around the trailer for Unreal Engine
What
5.
is
There's some
Oh,
stat.
we all
that
dying
noise?
here.
There you go.
Burrow.
It's gone. Oh,
Okay,
it's
Oh.
back. What is that?
it's in, it's out. Anyway, I'll just make real quick that it seems like Unreal 5 Engine 5 isn't just about
That
making
me?
it prettier. It's about making it easier to make pretty things at
Oh.
scale. So
Yeah.
I think it's very possible it looks that good.
What
Yay!
I'm saying is no, and I'm not. This is not even me wanting to be right at all. It's almost
Believe.
it's me in disbelief. I mean, have you seen the trailer, AJ? You've seen it
Yes, I have.
It's
it looks
Which one?
incredible.
for Hellblade 2.
Yes.
The announced trailer. It's on another level if it looks like that.
Oh
And my
God.
argument, Sam, is
Yo.
that the Unreal Engine 5 demonstration that PlayStation 5 put out along with Epic in partnership with them, like even that didn't look as good as Hellblade 2.
If it's any consolation, then I remember when the Series X came out, or the Xbox One X came out, and they talked a lot about tailoring the hardware, tailoring the 3D, the accelerators to be custom made or to dovetail nicely with the way Unreal Engine worked. And it's very possible that they've done that kind of tailoring again.
Yeah, even with that in mind, I can't. It's hard for me to believe that it looks that good. Granted, the visuals of a game are only so important, right, in comparison to the rest of the package. But just aesthetically, I'm a skeptic, but not a combative one.
No.
I'm being agreeable. I'm disagreeing with you, but I'm being agreeable about it. If that makes any sense.
You've seen the Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, haven't you?
I've seen all of them. Yeah.
Do you remember the part where Sean Connery gets shot and then he's like, he's guiding his son essentially in words through the
yes, through
different
the
trials?
final temple.
And then
yeah,
there's a part where he's he's sitting there with a gunshot wound and he's like, "You must believe, boy. You must believe."
So you're telling me
believe it, damn it.
You're Sean Connery, and you're telling me I must
I'm
believe.
Sean Connery. You must
Hey,
believe.
Let's do it. I hope it's true. I hope it really.
Come
does
on,
look like
man. For a guy who's known for faith, you gotta have some faith.
that. I'm not faithless in this regard. It's just it's very hard for me to wrap my head around. Maybe I'm just too much in the weeds. You know, I follow this industry very closely, and maybe that's just me being very difficult as far as what my eyesight in gaming allows me to be. But anyway, Psychonauts 2. I know some of you said you don't want to talk about it. I'm not.
Can we take a vote?
I've never played
Skip.
I've never played Psychonauts 1, but I'm really interested, and that's all I'll say about it. It's from the. I just want to say just one thing quick. Tim Schafer, Double Fine, Costume Quest, love them. So we'll move on from that. Destiny 2.
Wait, I thought we were gonna leave games that aren't new to later.
Oh, that's a good point. Yes, you're right. Stalker 2 is yes. Developed by GSC Game World. These are the same guys that made Stalker 1. No release window or date.
Is this the first this has ever been announced, Joe?
Weapon?
Stalker 2 has been alluded to here and there, but it's the first kind of formal announcement.
They only said that it's in development,
Yeah,
but they
the
never
first time you've
announced
seen
it.
Yeah.
I like knowing about Stalker's like legendary status, having never played the original, and just knowing that like, oh, this is the game. This is you think that Metro's cool. You want this.
For the uninitiated.
You think Fallout's cool.
For the uninitiated.
You need to play that.
Before you guys get into this, hold on a second. For the uninitiated, it's a first-person open world game. It's a horror game as well, and it's simulation. It's heavy on its simulation.
A pass.
It's also survival.
Non-linear story. Well,
it's also Russian.
Joseph, I'll have you know that the developer did not put the word survival in their game description.
Well, the first one was survival. It's a survival horror game.
Sure. I'm just reading off the press notes, man.
Yeah, I get it.
So anyway, non-linear story, lots of short and long-term consequences there. I leave the floor to those Stalker fans present because I don't know.
You want to start it off, Sam? Like from what you heard?
Honestly, like no, I'm just like I'm a phantom to the Stalker series and just the genre in general. I just it's that solitude, that environment. The grass is always greener. I'm opining. You've played Stalker. What are you looking forward to?
Just the adventures, the environmental storytelling, the survival aspect.
In the context of a game, because it sounds like you're the only one that's played it, Joseph. Can you
never finished it, by the way?
That's fine. No, we're not. I'm not going to ask you about story. I'm going to ask you more about what does that game play like? What do you like? Set up a scenario for us and how that all plays out.
Yeah, sure. So, it's a first-person shooter game, and I don't want to say it feels actiony, but it definitely has those types of moments. But it's definitely like resource management, survival, picking your fights, and knowing like your surrounding locations. Because let's say,
is this against AI or other players?
AI.
Okay.
AI. And let me tell you, the AI is smart in this game.
Okay.
So like say you want to pick a fight with raiders. There's like 6 of them. You know, your traditional like gameplay, like in those kind of survival horror games, dictates that you maybe either go in stealth or you could just go all out. And you're more likely gonna kill them because you have, the skill. You're a player, right? Going against AI. But in this one, like the AI, what happened? AJ?
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Keep going.
But yeah, like in this one, the AI, it feels really different from every, like, it's almost like Halo AI where it feels like you're playing real players. They're talking to each other, they're coordinating.
That's awesome.
They're flanking you don't even know it. Yeah, like, you could be fighting 4 guys, and then all of a sudden, there's 2 guys pushing you from the back of you. Now you're sandwiched, and now you're in a real bad spot because the weapons are just as deadly as yours, and you could get taken out like at any moment. And that's just fighting like human opponents, and we're not even talking about like the monsters, all the different types of monsters in the paranormal.
Is it a rogue type game where it's run based, and if you die, you start right over from the very beginning?
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
Well, you have your save points, but
so
the objective is not to continuously save.
Yeah, remember, roguelike is a game where it's run based. You have to finish it in one straight go. So if you can save, then no, it's not really that.
Yeah,
it's more of
there is a mode for that too.
Yeah, like Iron Man mode for XCOM or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
And the other thing is that is like totally random in a random sense that you could be in this one area fighting these one guys and then you could die. And then you go back to that same area after your death and you can find out that those guys died from a pack of mutants and suddenly you're fighting a whole new enemy.
That
And
sounds.
each playthrough isn't the same. It's always different.
And this is all based on Stalker 1, correct?
Yeah.
Is it procedural?
No. It's just the AI. The
It just
AI is
reacts.
still like.
But the AI,
Yeah.
the AI is like reactive to you, so every scenario will play
Yeah.
out differently. That's neat.
Definitely.
Joe, your description of this makes me think of that Shadow of Mordor game. Not to say it's similar, but when I hear you talk about it, it made me think of some of the mechanics that were in that game.
Mhm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What mechanics, DJ? Because I played Shadow of Mordor.
Like if you go and attack a orc and you fail, he gets like a promotion and gets stronger, or you can kill that orc and another orc somewhere. Things are changing as you play the game.
Is that what you said, Joseph? Happens when you get killed by something?
No.
No,
It's-
but I'm just saying.
I'm saying
things
just in
change.
general, it's similar.
Yeah, things change.
I see.
Yeah, like
Depending
the
on your
AI
actions,
is
yeah.
very adaptive and it feels
Cool.
like you're fighting a real player. So it doesn't feel like you're fighting some cheap, robust AI.
Nice.
Predictable
Joe.
AI, yeah.
AJ,
Joe?
what's happening? Yes.
Do you know if it has anything to do with Tarkovsky's Stalker film? Like, is that part of the basis of the story
I-
background? Because when I saw the trailer for Stalker 2, I immediately thought of the actual film because there are like little bits of like an area that is a Russian area that is essentially let's say warped or different.
I can
And,
confirm to you, AJ, that it is loosely based on the film. Yes.
Yeah, there you go. I
That's
wanted
so
to say
cool.
it was loosely, but I wasn't sure.
Okay.
I'm actually surprised you bring up the subject of the movie. That's actually
It's AJ.
the movie's really a
Dude, this dude,
He's a man of
this dude
movies.
watches
The
like
movie
500
buff.
films like a year or something like that.
I used to, yeah.
Yeah, you're the man in that regard for sure.
Yeah,
But
Stalker
yeah,
actually-
like
Stalker 2
going
sounds
back to
amazing,
it.
but
It's
based on
it's
everything you're
also
saying,
like very
if it's building on all that. Sorry.
yeah, it's also very like immersive. Like there's like you can have random conversations with other stalkers that you just randomly meet, or like there's this one moment I was having where I just fought off like a pack of mutants. I was badly hurt. It was nighttime, and the only thing I had like to light my was my flashlight. And in those kind of moments, you really want to get to like safety because you could run into like a pack of mutants and you wouldn't even know it,
Right.
or you could have guys ambush you. And in that moment, I found a group of stalkers just like they're just talking to themselves, and they're just like
these
playing
are
songs.
AI as well.
Yeah,
Okay.
and they're
That's
just
cool.
talking
That's
to
so
themselves and they're just
That
playing
does sound
songs, and
very
it's just
good.
like it's just a really good atmosphere to lose yourself in.
That sounds
Hey,
awesome.
speaking of atmosphere to lose yourself in, and what if we call instead of calling them stalkers, we called them drifters?
You could also call them drifters, trespassers.
Some kind of hyper light drifter, maybe.
Oh,
I don't know.
boy.
Just hanging out, playing songs in a
Do they
ruined
belong-
world.
Do they belong to the Solar Ash Kingdom?
Perhaps. No, but that vibe of just like cruising around and it's like, oh hey, look, other people are here too, doing the same stuff. Like, that's a neat feel. It's very inclusive.
Yeah, I think you've painted a great picture of this of the potential of this game. I asked you to do so just because unfortunately the announced trailer for Stalker 2 was a lot of what we saw here, where it was just it was a tone piece, and it gave a sense of the world without actually showing what the gameplay is, unfortunately. But I think for those that know what Stalker is, that definitely did it for
Yeah.
them. Yeah.
I think it's definitely more towards the hardcore fans that have been wanting
And-
this
and I
for
think-
years now.
I think that's a good point to raise as well.
How many years, Joe? Do you reckon?
Oh, when did it come out? Like early 2006, something like that.
Stalker is an old game.
It was
It was
old
a
when I
very
first
old
read
game.
about it.
2000. It came out in 2007,
Stalker.
and the last DLC was 2009, which was Call of Pripyat.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. March 2007. That all sounds awesome. And it's
But
funny
like,
that.
what you continue?
Oh, I was just gonna say, I was gonna bring up the point that earlier in the podcast we were talking about Halo Infinite. This was the subject, but we were talking about fan bases on the outs or people on the outside looking in of a game that's beloved by many, and their entry point into that series or lack thereof. And it's funny that you mentioned like, hey, Stalker 2 is for Stalker fans, like,
Yeah.
and definitely there is a predisposed person that is going to get into this because it slots right in rather than Stalker having to change anything about itself to bring them in. It's that's the other point to the other through line. The third through line here in this thing is the variety in video games in this presentation today was nuts.
It was really nuts.
It was just all
You had a
over
bit
the
of
place.
everything.
You could find something you loved basically, or you're really interested in there. For sure.
Ain't seen no
Stalker
Madden.
2 and Halo. No.
No, we're not talking about Halo. I'm saying the variety
It's
of the
not-
presentation.
I know you're talking about variety now, but earlier you said that like the outside looking in. No, I'm an outsider looking into Stalker 2, and let me tell you,
It slots
it's
right
not
in
the
though
same
for you.
experience though.
It slots right in for
But
you.
maybe because I in general like horror, but I also love sci-fi, and that doesn't mean Halo slots in. You know, it just
Halo is sci-fi, but it's also a different. Not all sci-fi slots in as well, but I think Stalker 2 is just right up your alley. It looks like I would
That's
say.
what you're saying there reminds me of something about Halo that always sort of like killed me from when Halo 4 showed up. Like I thought there was a really nice opportunity. And other people have said this, echoed this, that it would have been a cool opportunity for them to change up the formula and make it a little less black and white and a lot more stranger in a strange land, a lot more like fish out of water, a little less military sci-fi, and a lot more strange. And Stalker definitely has that where it's just a lot more strange, right? There's a lot more unknown and uncertainty. It's not these are the Covenant, these are you, this is your side, and you fight with guns. It's like
Right.
no, shit's
And
weird
that's
out
the,
there.
like,
The wasteland.
It's a big draw of it. It's like
Yeah, the mystery.
mysteries. And,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Totally.
that sounds awesome.
But good sci-fi
Uh,
has mystery.
Another
I
thing-
strongly recommend you read Stranger in a Strange Land. It is an awesome book. Robert A. Heinlein is got some of the better books in terms of sci-fi stuff.
Mhm.
So, yes,
Come for
very
the
much.
games, stay for the book recommendations.
Yeah,
Here.
going back to Stalker really quick, there's also factions that have their own characters, their own storylines, their own gear, and I believe perks too. I believe in the first Stalker there was like over 10 different factions you could have allied with, and I believe based on that may have been a mod, but I believe based on which faction you pick, it would start you off in a different area of the map, which was also kind of interesting and fun because you could immediately start off their faction storyline.
Right.
And,
like
and
Destiny, like Destiny. Based on which
Maybe.
race you pick, you start off on a different part of the map.
No, you
Right?
start on the same part of the map. though.
Oh shucks.
The way it should have been.
What could have been, right?
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah.
Hey, Stalker 2 sounds awesome.
And we didn't
thanks
even get
for-
into like the horror aspects and how quick it could change when you're just like, you remember in Fallout where you'd be exploring like a vault or something,
some
and
dark, twisted story.
It'd be some
develops
dark-
because of what
Yeah.
is there. Yeah.
at least in Fallout, you had a sense of power because you have your gun, you have your perk, so you feel like you could take it on.
yeah.
But in Stalker, it's like you almost feel powerless because there's a lot of like what they call anomalies,
Right.
and they don't tell you how to kill them. They may tell you through environmental storytelling, but they don't outright tell you. So you kind of have to like figure that out on the fly real quick, or you could be dead like that.
You gotta pay attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
That's
all,
so cool.
It's all music.
That reminds me of a
strangers.
book, guys. If you get a chance, read Helldivers.
Is it the book?
That's a
that
game,
the
right?
Video game is based on.
I don't think so.
Just same name.
I
Sounds the
think
same.
so. No, I'm saying the book. Hold on, let me bring up the author of the book.
Haven't we
Helldivers.
talked about this before?
Yeah, we
I
have.
think Josh has brought it up before. Yes, he has.
Okay. Just checking.
Cool.
So it's
It's
by
Helldivers
Nicholas
or,
Sansbury Smith. It's so good.
Repeat the author name because I think AJ talked over you there.
Oh, sorry. The author's name is Nicholas Sansbury Smith.
All right. And the book is called
Shout out.
Helldivers.
Is
Helldivers,
this a
yeah.
book or like
The
a
book.
graphic novel?
No, it's a book. A book. Like a book.
Cool.
Bookie.
I'm a
Really
real
good.
book.
I'm a real boy.
All right, guys.
But yeah,
Joseph,
Stalker 2.
Joseph,
I hope
thank
you guys play it.
Thank you for the deep dive
Yeah.
into Stalker World there for us. I think all of us really appreciated that. That's great. That
Hell yeah,
all
man.
sounds awesome.
Leading us in.
All right, next up, the next game they announced is Warhammer
oh.
Darktide.
Oh. Yes, again.
Jonathan is here for this.
Formal
Oh my God.
sequel to Vermintide.
Oh,
Really?
boy, I'm excited.
Yes. This is as per Fat Shark, the developers announced, this is a sequel to Vermintide, straight up. 4-player co-op, sci-fi themed, same guys from the original Vermintide game. Melee
That
combat
is so great.
Melee combat is still centric, but they are trying to create a balance with weapons and firearms.
Yeah.
Release window is 2021. So
Looking forward to that.
yeah, that looks
Yeah.
at least from
Has
a
anyone
thematic
played-
standpoint.
Has anyone played any of the Vermintide games?
I played the Vermintide 2, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And the
No
only
one
thing
else.
Go ahead.
I still haven't. I have it on my queue. but I still
Nice.
haven't gotten to it.
Has
Yeah,
that game
unfortunately.
only been on PC or
No,
is
it's on
this
No.
the first time?
It's on
No,
Xbox.
okay.
It's on Game Pass, by the way.
Yeah, it's on Game Pass as well.
I'll tell you the
Yeah,
only.
Does
it is
anyone
on
have
my
any?
queue, I wanna
DJ
get there.
was gonna say something.
Yeah.
Jonathan's
Yeah,
played it as well. Sorry, go ahead, DJ.
I would say the only thing I didn't like about the Vermintide game, the one I played at least, is it introduced that gear progression grind that I kind of felt
yeah.
was unnecessary for the style of game.
The second
But-
one introduced that stuff.
Yeah, I guess that's the only one I played. So yeah.
Mm.
And
Well,
other than that, I
how do you
really
know it
enjoyed it.
introduced it though? If you haven't played the first one.
Well,
I can tell you, they introduced it in the second one.
Okay.
Yeah.
and even if they had done it in the first one, my point is, it's a Left 4 Dead style game, but all the older games that are in that style didn't have a gear grind.
I
You just
see.
found
Yeah.
weapons
See.
and you went on,
They added it for replayability, kind of, or to extend the replayability of it.
or to make you grind, and that style of game
We're talking
doesn't
the
need a
same thing,
grind.
friend.
Yeah.
I would say the grind is optional though, because you don't have to grind out those things to complete the missions.
You can-
Because
you
you get rewards at the end, and those will help you progress.
And even
True.
Even then-
you can Left 4 Dead it and just skill clutch.
Yeah.
It. Yeah.
You can still
Yeah.
skill clutch it.
Cool.
Yeah.
But that's more like, I think that's more for like the more expert difficulties to dispatch enemies a little bit faster,
Sure.
Yeah.
because they are like,
Efficiency.
for efficiency.
When you want to min
other
max.
stuff. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
But-
Jonathan, are you there for this? He's gone.
I think he is.
He's gone.
But
He certainly is here for this, in
we-
spirit at least.
We like to say around these parts that when Jonathan goes away from the microphone randomly without declaring so, that he's gone to Narnia. All right.
But
Oh,
what do you think,
Begin-
Andrew? What do you think from seeing just the trailer?
I mean, again,
I'm sorry. I have to interrupt. But have you actually read the Chronicles of Narnia?
I've just seen the first book.
yes.
I mean, I've seen the first movie. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I know the reference about being lost in the wardrobe. That's what we.
Right
That's what we
on.
joke about him doing. He goes.
Okay.
He comes back saying he got a cup of milk, and it's like, where did you go to get that glass of milk,
Oh.
dude? Like, holy
Oh,
crap.
I'm here.
Hey, he's
You did?
Wow, good job, John.
right on time.
I just wanted to hear the story.
Right
I
on
told
time.
the story, guys.
Warhammer
I'm
Dark
just joking.
Side, Jonathan.
I was eating. I was just eating. Well, I haven't played. I didn't play a lot. Well, you know what? I did play Vermintide. I played the.
The first
the
one. I
campaign,
remember you would
yes.
play it a lot with some
Mhm.
of the other folks.
That's your dark.
Yeah.
That's your dark light. I used to play it with your dark light, and then again, he didn't play it as much as I did, but I played it, and I liked it. Like, of course, if you like the Warhammer, I've always liked Warhammer, but I never really got into it. One,
Mhm.
because I always thought Warhammer looked cool, like 4000 and the original, the like the old
You like the Warhammer
Like the-
stuff in general, the aesthetic.
Yes,
of all that stuff.
but I never got into it deep. I always like it's like I took liking to it, but I never really got really into it because it's like you had to like it was kind of expensive at the time, and then I never really like I knew about it when I was young. Like you go to those the workshops, whatever they were called.
Yeah, the game stores, game
yes,
workshop.
dude. Yep, and they were cool, like the models and everything. But overall, I played Vermintide 1, and if you like Left 4 Dead, you'll like this stuff.
Yeah,
It just
that's what
it's
I
like
kept hearing. I kept
taking
hearing this
place
is
in a-
basically just filling the shoes of the Left 4 Dead franchise.
Yep. And the cool thing is that I don't even know that much about the game or the world, but you know that world's deep as fuck. So
Sure.
everything you'll get it's gonna be wild. Like you're facing enemies you never seen before.
Yeah.
Weapons that are fucking wild. The colors too. So it's cool.
They basically took a very thin slice of the Warhammer lore and made a video game about it. Because I know for a fact Warhammer is just multifaceted. To say it's multifaceted and it's like
It's
lore
insane.
stuff, it's
Too much.
It's underselling it. That stuff goes just beyond. I mean, if there's a certain aesthetic or lore style that you like, whether it's like medieval fantasy or sci-fi or whatever, like Warhammer has you covered in every way.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
That's actually something about this that looks really intriguing. Was when the trailer kicked off. It's a bunch of it's a tactical squad like ambling through a ruin, but that's so often overlooked in Warhammer video games. Most of the time, it's fucking huge space marines, and here
Space Hulk
you're just a
and
bunch of
Deathwing
dudes.
and those video games that did
Right.
that. Yeah.
It's a very different power fantasy, right?
Yeah.
This one this is a fantasy where they take the power away, and you are up a creek, and then I guess you build up and destroy waves and waves of dudes, but.
Yeah.
Still, that's cool. It's cool to see that insane world through a much more delicate lens.
Nice.
That looks neat.
Cool.
Hey,
You're
Jonathan,
pretty much yo.
have you seen Event Horizon?
Yes.
Yeah, it's like the only film that I can think of that is like remotely like anything out of Warhammer.
Because of the crazy like.
That other dimension that you go through, and then when you come back, essentially you're all kind of,
like
warped
it.
out of your mind. Yeah.
Crazy hot
You know?
lady with the freaking cuts her eyes out. Yeah, I like that crazy hot lady.
You guys remember a movie with Jamie Lee Curtis called Virus? Kind of like that. Please say yes.
No,
Yeah.
Come on,
it doesn't
man.
sound
Fuck,
Man, even
no one.
I would
Virus?
say
I love Jamie Lee
Yes,
Curtis.
it's called
I've never
Virus.
seen that
DJ
movie.
must know about this film.
Iris.
I've seen
Iris.
Replicants.
You're talking
with,
about
Virus.
with that Baldwin brother, right?
I think so. Yeah. Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
yes, I know what you're talking.
And
You know what? Go ahead.
there's the guy from the guy from Fear the Walking Dead. I think one of the main characters. He was in season 1. He's the dad of the. I don't know if you've seen him, but there's well-known actors in that movie, and I'm pretty sure you
Man,
remember.
I
You
don't
just have to
know
see it.
Fear the Walking Dead is one of those shows that just never got to me. I tried to watch it, and it was just for me so bad that I
It's
couldn't,
alright,
I couldn't
but-
stick with it. But
wasn't
so I
a
don't know
fan
which
either.
one who you're talking about. Yeah,
He's
He's
the
the
was a
guy
tribal
from.
guy.
He's the guy from the movie Training Day, and he's one of the gangsters. It says
You know it. Yes.
you know
it.
my daughter, my niece or whatever. He's the
This
Cholo
guy knows
guy.
it. Yes, this guy knows
What?
it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's the
Yeah,
one that
that
gets him in the bathtub. But a
Yeah,
shot
he
chainsaw.
calls his niece. He's like, hey, he's like, don't lie to me. What happened to you today? And he's like, oh,
Did you go
a
to
cop
school?
saved me.
Warhammer
that
Dark Tide, everyone.
Yeah.
I don't know where the movie and all that
Well, okay.
started
well,
coming from, Jonathan.
well, he asked a question.
No,
He's
no, I
going
know.
deep into it.
I'm just trying to move us along because
I think we'll rein it back in.
Man,
Yeah, we're no longer
Yeah.
talking about the game.
boo.
Well, yeah, I'm interested to
What do
see
you wanna
how
move
they're
on
gonna
to?
handle
Tetris?
Tetris
gunplay.
Effect Connected is the next game. But Joseph, you were saying something about Warhammer.
Yeah, I was saying, I'm interested in seeing how they handle gunplay and that kind of Left 4 Dead style. Because you've seen them do
Yeah,
melee, and they do
yes.
melee really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like machine
Now
guns and
they're
rifles
adding
and long
guns,
range,
and when
yeah, that's a
they've
whole
taken
different
such
ballgame.
careful consideration with one facet that seems to be simple, when they add something else, it just especially if you understand where they're coming from, it opens up a whole new box of things there as far as like, okay, guns are coming into this now.
Well, aren't the guns in Warhammer like they're very like they're high tech, but at the same time they're kind of like single
There's
like they're
there's
single
guns
shot.
in Vermintide, but they're only single shot, so you don't have like a lot of room to
Right.
use them.
Right. Cool.
I think
that
also
sounds awesome.
also being not Space Marines mean you probably don't get to carry around the big gnarly ass guns.
Yeah,
The Space
Yeah.
Marines do.
Right.
Mm.
More pew pew
More
pew.
Miniature ones like the
The la-
las rifle. and
Exactly.
The,
It's
the
only
plasma
3 strength.
pistol.
Sad.
Cool. Well, that
But yeah,
does sound
it-
awesome.
It definitely is gonna be class based. You can just tell by like
Oh.
looking at the characters.
Is
so you have, like-
Vermintide class based?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So
But yeah,
that's
you
not
have like
new,
in
per
this
se.
one, it looks like you'll have your heavy weapons, your melee, and I'm not sure about the two riflemen. I'm not sure what they're gonna be doing.
Right.
I assume one's gonna be a medic, and the other one's gonna be like maybe utility or just all purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
I don't even like the Warhammer series that much, but I like I don't even know too much about it, but I like it.
You like
That makes sense.
Vermintide. Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yes.
you were into Vermintide, so that's kind of your
Yes.
way in. Yeah. Cool. All right. Sorry, Sam.
Yeah.
Oh,
Just real quick for
Joseph.
me, I just hope that they stick to the dark tone that they have with the universe instead of like filtering it.
Hmm.
Because they have like, a
Vermintide
few
is pretty
problems
dark.
lately.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had a few problems with the main canon universe where they kind of filtered stuff down a little bit lately.
You mean they
And
watered
I'm
it down?
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I'm hoping now they kind of show that dark side of like the chaos gods and how basically how just like the regular humans are just like meat.
Right.
We're really like at the bottom of the barrel fighting like this impossible force coming right at us, and we're just throwing ourselves at it.
It is kind of demented though.
All right.
For real, it's like the topics are kind of wild.
Yeah.
That all sounds awesome.
Let's talk about Tetris.
So
Tetris.
Tetris Effect Connected. It's
Next.
basically
No, I
a
was
re-release.
kidding. Next.
It's a
Nah.
re-release.
Next.
I just real quick. So it's
Boo.
basically the release of a previously released game on PlayStation and PSVR. This is a multiplayer variant of the same game. They're adding co-op and multiplayer to it, and Tetris Effect for whatever mundane connotations it may have to some. That game was very enjoyed by those that played it. I didn't play it personally, and I don't think anybody here did, but it's worth mentioning that it's coming
Hey,
as well.
I have an idea. Let's all go and buy a 1995 PC with DOS operating system and play Tetris.
Play Tetris.
Or you can
Yeah.
Let's get a Game Boy.
Or you just
Or you
download
could
it.
just
No.
have the
that's
original
not-
Game
And I
Boy
also
on
think-
hand.
To be fair, I didn't play Tetris Effect, but I think there was way more to it than just standard Tetris.
Too
There
much
was. They
Tetris
even
talk.
had like a weird multiplayer mode. But the few people I've talked to about that Tetris Effect, they said they liked it because it was in a way relaxing because of the music and the visuals, but at the same time challenging because you know how Tetris is, it gets faster. But it wasn't like any kind of mind blown experience. It's just like, oh hey, I got some free time. I'll play a couple rounds of Tetris.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
Yeah, that's Tetris.
Is the multiplayer going to be anything like Tetris 99?
I don't
Do we have
think
any
so.
idea?
No, it's not.
Okay.
It's not where you can sabotage the other person's run. I don't believe so. No.
That would be cool.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But Tetris 99, right? Just that thing looks crazy. Just
Oh,
them
Yeah.
introducing things like that is just nuts.
So the
can I
guy.
rewind this mixtape real quick?
Okay.
Going back to Halo, on the pilot, the one who finds Master Chief. I don't know if you guys know this, but
Yeah.
the insignia marking is, I think it's before the Covenant War ended.
It said like what 2558. Andrew,
Yeah.
tell us. But that
20
number's that's late,
That
isn't
is
it?
way after the Covenant War is over.
So and it's after we lost. So do we lose to what are they? The Harbinger?
The
we lose to
Harbinger
Cortana?
is one thing, and the Banished are another.
I know who we
But
Third
lost
they
Harbinger.
to.
are they are together.
We lost to Cortana, and we have to get our sexy ass back.
No, Cortana's an
Yeah.
Halo, by the
Bring
way.
in sexy back.
Mm.
Halo is just a wedding ring.
I
Alright,
digress.
going back to this Tetris thing.
No worries. No,
No,
we're done.
the
We're done
gunk.
with
We're done, Tetris.
we're done with Tetris. It was just
Can we
about
also be
addressing
done
that.
with the gunk?
So the gunk is is from the creators of SteamWorld, which is
That was
another-
cool.
Yeah, that's a very popular game as well. Coming to Xbox One and PC and Series X fall 2021. I didn't get too much of this game. Unfortunately, I kind of went in order, and I just I didn't have the time to like really read into this game at all. Did anybody have a chance to?
Mm-mm.
I didn't read
I,
into
Cool
it.
trailer, I guess.
It just looks
It
cool.
looks cool.
Third
Just saw the
person
trailer.
action adventure game, basically,
Yeah.
from the makers of SteamWorld.
I
So
did
that's-
some research here.
Okay, go
Guys,
for it.
on gunk. So there are a few interesting synonyms for gunk. For example, sludge and slime and ooze and gook and
Are you
goop.
looking at a dictionary?
There's
He
dirt
read
and
up on it.
filth, debris, snot,
Was it the
fecal matter.
semantics?
Fecal matter happens to be one of the actual synonyms of this word. I thought that was interesting.
I
Fecal matter.
appreciate your sense of humor in all this, but
The
not
stuff-
Flashback.
cool for the sake of diverting the entire thing that we're doing here.
Cool
No,
for the
And
game.
crud.
I think Gunk looks like what I wanted. The two.
You made me laugh.
What's the game where everyone's tiny?
Oh,
Grounded.
Grounded.
I know that one. Oh,
Yeah.
damn it. I was going to answer it, but I forgot the answer.
I got
pro-
like this gives me those vibes. It just yeah, it looks the environments look rich and again there's a weird ass environment to explore and I also just like just how whimsical it looks like what the SteamWorld stuff does.
Did it remind
That's,
you
that's
of
fun.
like Luigi's Mansion? The way she's sucking up the
interesting.
things with her.
That's a very
with
interesting
her
comparison.
little weapon. Well, have you ever played Luigi's Mansion?
Yeah.
He
yeah,
has a
yeah,
vacuum
yeah,
or whatever he has,
Totally.
and he's just sucking everything up.
Yeah.
And you look at the little trailer. She's just going around pretty much. She's not shooting at it. She's just like just sucking it
She's
up.
cleaning.
That's cool.
Cleaning, yeah.
I appreciate your nod there to Luigi's Mansion. I didn't even think about that.
Blinks the time cat.
Cool.
The-
All right. Well. Sorry. Go
Oh,
ahead,
never
DJ.
mind. No, I was just gonna say it was kind of neat because I looked at it real quick, and like some of her armor and stuff has like this. She almost looks like the thing she's on her chest looks like a controller of something, like a video game device, and I don't know. It's like this weird
Well-
claymation kitty, but not kitty fantasy.
That's true. It does look kind of like a claymation thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't Nintendo have something like that, like Power Glove or something?
Back
Isn't that
in
what
the
it looks
day,
like?
Yeah.
That
Not
kind of.
really.
I mean, there's some similarities there, but I don't think it's enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
You ever
Maybe
seen
I
it's
think
inspired by.
It looks
Yeah, I
best
want to
on
watch Super
Xbox
Mario
Series
Brothers the
X.
movie.
All right. Well, that's gunk. The next one is one I'm really interested in. I don't know if you guys share my interest in the Medium from Bloober Team.
Looked interesting.
The guys that worked on the Blair Witch game that came out last year, Layers of Fear that came out a few years back, and Observer that came out in 2017, I believe.
Oh, Observer.
Yeah. This is that.
Andrew's favorite.
They've worked on a game?
They
They worked
Yeah.
on those 3 games?
They worked on those games. This is the same.
Oh,
team.
damn. That's
Yeah.
pretty cool. I didn't know that.
So the Medium is based on. It's from that team coming at launch for the Series X. It's only on Series X, and apparently they basically showed gameplay that takes advantage of the SSD, much like what Ratchet and Clank did for the PlayStation, with Ratchet kind of pulling in different, number one, flying through different dimensions in what seemed like real time, and as well as pulling in different spots from the same level that he was in. This kind of, I think, went a step further in that it kind of created two different environments that you were simultaneously playing in. Is that right? Did I
It looked
see
like
that
two
right?
different texture sets. They claim two different environments, but
Yeah,
looks.
that's hard to believe, considering then
Also,
how
are
would you
you?
be able to navigate both if they're different?
I mean, and are you just like flip flopping between them to like solve puzzles, etc.? Like, oh,
Yeah,
go to the dark
th-
world, go to the light world, go to the
Yeah.
dark
that's a
world.
good That's a good
I
question
wonder.
because there's a game I really loved way back in the day called Soul Reaver, part of the Legacy Kane series,
Oh, right.
and
Yeah.
you would have to do that. And sometimes there's only little differences in between the spirit world and the real world, but sometimes there's huge differences. But that's how you sometimes had to progress through the level. You'd be like, oh, I can't figure out where to go. Oh, let me check the other world, and oh yeah, the bridge is in one piece in this world.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. It's
Kind of like
I-
Titanfall 2, right?
yes.
I don't know. I'm
Sorry,
playing.
if you guys heard that.
No,
uh,
just
Go ahead.
something
So
about
I would
Titan.
say that my interest in the medium ranges from moderate to average.
Yeah, I'm interested too. Yeah. I want to see more though.
Yeah, for
It
sure.
it looked good, but
But
from their past games like Layers of Fear and what was the other one you mentioned?
It's Layers of Fear, Observer, and Blair Witch.
Observer and Blair Witch
Yeah,
Project.
Yeah.
so between Layers and Fear, the ones that I play, Layers of Fear and Blair Witch, they're okay, like survival horror, psychological horror games, but it's kind of repetitive,
Oh,
and
is
then
it?
it's repetitive to the point where you just get tired of it in the middle and you start expecting things, anticipating them. That's the word.
Does it deliver on the exact expectation? Like, do
Not
you see
really.
it coming from a mile? Oh no, what I mean is, do you see the things before they're even revealed to you? Like, is it
Yeah,
You,
predictable?
s-
it's
you see the jump
predictable,
Oh, it
scare.
is. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
especially with like the jump scares and all that. But like story wise, they're good. It's just how they execute it.
Right. Okay.
I'll tell you the one thing before we move on. When I
Hmm.
first saw this trailer, I thought it was gonna have something to do with shit. Now I can't think of the name of the game. You're playing a woman. She's in like this office building,
Of all
but
the
she's
times
like
to buy.
some weird time and space powers and a weird looking gun that would move
Control.
and control. I thought this game was gonna have something to do
Yeah.
with
It
control,
looks very
but then
similar.
yeah, after the trailer went on, I was like, oh, okay, never mind. It's a different game.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's the medium. I think it looks interesting. I'm gonna keep an eye on it. I think like Adri said, there's maybe varying degrees of interest, but I think it's
Yeah.
worth keeping an eye on it to see what it ultimately does or what it is at the end of the day. All right. Fantasy Star Online
somewhere in the
2,
middle.
the new
Ooh.
Genesis. Any Fantasy Star Online players here?
I've played it for a
I
little
played
bit.
it.
It's fun. I don't know how else to say it. It's just fun.
I
The
acknowledge it has
combat looked
a
fun.
big player base.
Yeah, it does have a big player base.
What's a big player base?
It's
You
I,
are. You're a big
I'm
player,
not entirely
basically.
sure. I think it's an
Well, you'd make
alliance.
up another large one, my friend.
We'll make up two. But yeah, Fantasy. It's a good game. It's fun, especially when you have friends and you're doing like the raids.
Hmm.
The take on the MMO. It's not like a boring MMO combat. It's really actiony,
I
kind of. I would say similar to what's
Monster
that
Hunter.
one MMO? Not Monster Hunter.
Ah,
Is that Korean MMO?
Terra.
Oh God, not that one. Black Desert. The
oh
combat is
Oh.
a lot of fun and engaging,
So is it like fun button mashing fun, or or is it a little
like button mashing
super
fun.
button? Okay, cool. I like some button mashing every now
is
and then.
it just out of curiosity? Because I've been someone that's kind of like looked past Fantasy Star Online, and sometimes when it's not looking, I'll look over its way, kind of
Hmm.
deal.
Yeah.
um, is is that game just a lot of just being in a place, a social space, and just to compare it to Destiny, where it's like you're like 80% of the time managing systems to then play a 10-minute thing.
No,
Okay.
no.
All
There's
right.
things that go on for hours.
Okay. Mechanics based.
Mechanics based.
Yeah. Cool.
How much?
The
how
boss
much-
fights are really interesting and intricate.
Can you give us like a relative comparison to what like how?
I cannot.
intricate
I
it can be?
haven't done a raid. I've only seen a friend done a raid. I've only seen them explain it to me and all that. But they seem really fun and engaging.
Cool.
And it's something that I want to do, but it's just like getting to that level.
And
The
I'm
MMO
asking,
grind.
I'm asking this not to put you on the spot. I'm asking this.
That seems like an MMO-ass MMO.
Yeah.
In a good way. Like, you know what you're in for.
I
Yeah.
am going to ask this question for the sake of the conversation, not to put you on the spot.
Mhm.
Why aren't you playing Phantasy Star Online 2?
Oh boy.
Is it-
I think for me, it's partially because of the graphics. It's
Is it
kind of hard to
outdated?
look at. It's definitely outdated, and it's just overwhelming. Like when you first start playing, because there's so many like systems that you kind of have to learn to navigate through
Learning curve.
the world and all that. It's not
short
so
answer
clear
is-
cut.
The short answer also seems time, right? Like time
Yeah.
to put into that and understand.
Yeah.
Plus, I'm playing WoW 60 hours a week.
For sure, yeah.
That's
you're
just
right
by
Damn.
Blizzard.
back on that. You're totally right back.
Props to you, Joe. On
All right, and then the next game, Crossfire. Crossfire is a game that's really multiplayer centric. It's actually
Yeah.
just a multiplayer game. Is it out of South Korea? Am I right on
I
that?
think so.
This game apparently has like 200
Oh.
million players or some crazy number like that. Of course, outside of North America. It's something
believe
that's
it.
big on the South Korean scene and the Chinese scene.
What's that?
What is
was
that?
that?
That's my boy. He's having a nightmare.
Who's
Oh, I see.
demonic
Wake up,
dog was
Bruce.
that?
So yeah, so Crossfire
That
is,
did sound demonic.
is a multiplayer game, and Remedy
Welcome.
was brought on board. I think late 2018. They were hired by the Crossfire team to make a campaign for that game.
Ooh, pretty cool.
So Remedy, just the fact that Remedy's attached to it has me excited because I'm a big fan. And Remedy, of course, is the developers of Max Payne, Alan Wake, Quantum Break, and Control. So that's just yes for me. But anyway, it looked interesting. It's hard to parse what really was going on in that trailer for me personally, just because it's in the context of what a Crossfire universe is, and I'm not familiar with that universe, but I'm willing to give it a look just because of Remedy's name being attached to it personally.
Yeah,
I
I thought
don't care
the
about it being
campaign
attached to
trailer-
Remedy.
Yeah, I
But
thought the
it
campaign
looks
trailer
really
looked
good.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, the visuals look great, but I can't.
I'm so
help
glad I
every
know
time,
that it... Go on.
I was gonna say every time I saw Old Boy in his armor, and then on top of that, when he turned invisible, it just made me think of Crisis. So
Hell yeah.
Oh man, Crisis 2
Crisis,
was so awesome.
It was.
Knowing that it's from a long-standing and popular free-to-play game really
Yeah.
helps me appreciate why it has a name like it does.
Oh,
Just-
sorry, share
Nope.
that. I'm too dumb.
Oh no, I just think the name is a little bombastic. It sounds like Street Fighter Cross Tekken. Like it sounds
Like the board
it sounds like an overwrought title,
I get you. Okay.
maybe from a different language.
Got it.
Andrew, you played
The
Control?
I have not played
Yeah.
Control yet. That's one just like Outer Worlds that I'm kind of chomping at the bit to get to.
Has anyone played Control?
Nope.
No.
No, I've seen gameplay, and that's it.
Is that
After I played
PlayStation
Quantum
exclusive?
Break. Control? No, that's
No.
Sorry, what was
that's
the
on
question?
both Xbox. So, yeah. After I played, the question was, is Control
to Jonathan.
PlayStation exclusive?
Jonathan. Oh, that's what he asked. Okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So no, I don't think it is, right?
No,
Andrew?
it's not. No, Control is not exclusive to
Okay.
PlayStation.
Okay. After I played Quantum
Oh,
Break,
that game.
I want to play. Quantum Break was so amazing, by the way, guys. For those of you who haven't played it, it is just a fantastic game, fantastic campaign. I can't recommend it enough. I took forever to play it after Andrew recommended it to me. He kept saying, it's a great game, you gotta play it. And he was so enthusiastic about it. I was like, okay, even though I don't think it's gonna be as great as he says, it's like I'll play it, but it took forever. And then once I did, it was just absolutely fantastic. all except for, in my opinion, the ending, which I won't say
Yeah.
anything else about.
Sure.
But based
That's
on
okay,
just that
spoil
game, I'm
it.
like, okay, I may have to play Control because I obviously liked Max Payne. I love Alan Wake, and Quantum Break was fantastic.
Yeah.
Um,
That team.
so it's like,
team is. I love Remedy. I just love Remedy.
yeah. And I don't even care. Like I don't follow studios or anything. I don't care who puts out what. I want it to be good. Period.
Sure,
So
sure.
in this case, I do think that Crossfire looks pretty damn good. But I was curious, even though it wasn't announced and Control's been out for a while. I think it's one of those games that, like, I think I may have ignored at my peril, similar to Quantum Break.
Yeah. And just post-service announcement, man. Those of you that just looked away from Quantum Break, play it. Play it. It's good.
It's on
You know
Game
what throw-
Pass.
You know what
Also
throws me
Game
off?
Pass.
The actor, the
It's
main
great.
dude.
It's great. Like, forget about the fact that it's a real actor. It's great. Those actors and
Wasn't he
their voice
Iceman
work.
in X-Men?
Yes.
I think so. I don't know.
thought-
I know his name is Sean Ashmore. I don't know.
Isn't
Oh,
he the
yeah,
guy
yeah.
from Animorphs?
Oh man, Animorphs from Nickelodeon.
You remember?
So good, yes.
Cool. But that's